We do have to finish this Bassem Youssef clip, though, or video. So let us continue. Here we go.
And Syria, and of course Palestine. So that is the official talk of the official ministers. So you want to kind of ignore this, and you go after random people in the streets with flags saying from the river to the sea. Don't you see that comparison is a little bit
Well,
off?
it's not just random people. It is Hamas, who is the governing body of Gaza.
Hamas?
But the point of a democracy, what do you mean?
Hamas, at the end of the day, they're a militant group. They're a militant group. They're ISIS. You don't take them seriously. Militant group.
Don't take them seriously. They're the leaders of Gaza, Bassem. They were elected in 2006, and as your joke said, a 30-year...
2006, when nobody actually was alive by then. Like now, like people there, how many people were alive?
50% of Gaza was not alive in 2006.
So if you did an election right now, they're not...
I love how just immediately his point got undermined. Just no quarter from Bassem on this one. This is very cathartic. Let's see. You'd be right that normally collective punishment is stupid. No, it's not that normally collective punishment is stupid. Normally collective punishment is a war crime. It's more than stupid. It is a heinous war crime. The difference is that in Gaza, although there are some extremist Israeli politicians who are against peace with Palestinians...
Up to T2 hypers.
Yo, Narodia, thank you for upgrading to a tier 2 sub. My goodness.
Not going to be the ruler of Gaza.
Yeah, but you didn't do an election. That's the point.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because basically they kicked out Fatah and the PLO, and they're running the West Bank.
And Israel didn't put them under blockade and kick the shit out of them.
There is an argument to be made there. You think that I'm saying that Israel is completely innocent? Do you think I would say that the U.S. is completely innocent?
No, I don't think you said that.
We had a debacle in Iraq. We had a debacle in Afghanistan. There's no perfect country. There's no innocent country.
Listen, this is what you do. And when I say what you do is what America and Israel and all of this, like let's kill them all.
No. You've already put words in my mouth. You've called me racist. You're saying that I want to kill everybody. I've said none of those words.
You kill people.
He is making the arguments that lead to killing all of them. He doesn't have to say, I am a racist. He doesn't have to say, kill all the people in the Gaza Strip. He doesn't have to say those things if he's making all of the arguments that lead you to both of those conclusions.
People, and then you ask questions later. You kill people, you ask questions later.
Isn't that what Hamas does?
America did. Hamas is a terrorist group. You are comparing Hamas. Every time you compare Hamas, I'm bringing you Israel and America, which are supposedly democratic countries. Hamas and ISIS and whatever, these people are not like good examples, right?
I agree.
A good example. So when you tell me Hamas, all right, fine, Hamas, horrible people. Let's talk about the leaders of the free world. America, they kill first, they ask questions later, and the result, Afghanistan and Iraq.
Disasters.
They kill.
I'm not going to argue with them on that one. Disaster.
Israel kill later, and then the result, what's happening in Gaza and what's been happening to Gaza. There's no justification for Israel to kill 30,000 people right now. And all the thing about October 7th, many of them, can you tell me where are the decapitated babies? What are their names? Can you give me the names?
You want me to go over every dead, decapitated Israeli baby's name?
I think that story was refuted, wasn't it?
It was refuted many times.
It wasn't real.
And it was the biggest story.
What's your point? That Hamas didn't kill babies? They didn't kill women?
What I say, if you have
There's hundreds of people kidnapped by Hamas. What's your point?
No. They're kidnapped, yes. In fact,
you're saying that 1,200 people weren't murdered?
If a terrorist group would decapitate people, if terrorist group would burn people, you know what terrorist groups does? They terrorize. They will show them off. Like ISIS, they were burning people in cages. All right? We will not find about the atrocities of rape or about decapitating from other sources because a terrorist group, by design, terrorizes. They will go in with their GoPro, they will show you the babies that they decapitated. They will not going to hide it. It's like, oh my, we didn't do it. Because terrorist groups does that, right? Remember ISIS, when they were burning people in cages? Yeah. They like to promote their terror because the terrorist group wanted to terrorize the public. We have not seen anything of that.
That's one of the most naive comments I've ever heard. We've seen videos, countless videos, of them gang raping women and then blowing their head off while they chop off one of their breasts. We've seen these videos.
No, you haven't seen it.
Well, are you fucking crazy? Of course we've seen these videos.
Seen it.
We've seen dead bodies littered all over kibbutzes.
I've read about it.
Okay.
And I can
Go
show-
watch the video.
And I can.
You're
and-
choosing. This
and
is
I-
selective ignorance. This is selective ignorance. That's like me saying, if that's like me saying, of course Israel's not bombing indiscriminately. No, they have. And I'm at least willing to own that. And I'm not Israeli, I'm American.
By the way, I'm not defending
Okay.
Hamas. They did.
But you are
atrocities,
equivalent.
But what I'm saying is all of these like
What he's trying to say is that maybe you should hold the state of Israel to a higher standard than a terrorist organization. Like maybe like that should be the case. Maybe a state shouldn't be bringing itself down to the level of a terrorist organization. Like, oh, they left bodies littered all over the kibbutz. That's true. That's horrific. So how on earth does that justify Israel littering the villages and towns and cities of the Gaza Strip with 20, 30 times that number? It doesn't. So we're actually holding Israel to a lower standard than we hold terrorists to.
decapitating babies. That is wrong. That never happened.
Okay, it was only a few.
A few? How many?
Dude, I'm not
What-
there on the
what
ground.
are the-
So what's your argument?
We have pictures of
let's be clear here.
we have
What's your
pictures of every
argument
single-
that they didn't decapitate
didn't
one
say that.
baby's
I-
head?
no,
So what are you saying?
I said that what the Hamas did was terrible, but it was inflated by things to make it emotional, to think that it's okay to kill all of those people.
It was inflated. So it wasn't
Yeah.
1,200. Well, how much was it?
I don't know.
Okay.
But-
So
As a matter- as a
so
matter-
Israelis' numbers are inflated,
according-
1,200, but the
as a matter of
30,000
fact-
from Hamas
according
is
to-
not
as a
inflated?
matter of fact-
You're talking out of
as
both
a
sides of your
matter of
mouth.
fact- As a matter of fact, according to Israeli survivors, they said that many of these casualties happened because Israeli troops came in and indiscriminately killed everybody, including the hostages.
That's the first time I've heard that story. I've been
First
covering
time,
this.
because you were not covering, because you have not listening to the survivors from the Israelis. On the
Every
Senate.
morning,
They have
I
been all
read
there.
credible sources: Wall Street Journal, Fox News,
Fox News.
Bloomberg. Okay, so who are?
All of those are not great sources of information. Bloomberg, probably one of the better ones, but like Wall Street Journal and Fox News are like absolutely dog shit sources when it comes to information, especially when it comes to like the Middle East and geopolitics.
What are you reading? Hamas.com? Like, where are you getting your sources?
Hearts.
Okay, Haaretz. Yeah,
Haaretz.
the Israeli
The
newspaper.
time of Israel.
Yes, of course.
Dude, he has so much more patience than I could ever have, dude. Like, he's like, yeah, no, I'm getting my information from the beacons of intellectual might, like Fox News and the Wall Street Journal. Where are you getting your sources? Haaretz and the Times of Israel. You know, two sources from within Israel itself. What a Chad response. Also, clearly this dude's been working out. Also, I'm not afraid to say it. Bassem Youssef is very hot. He's very attractive. See, fellow lefties, you can find hot, attractive people who also have good politics. You don't have to like go and look at like a terrorist organization and try and rehabilitate them, okay?
Of course, I read those too.
They have actually brought
I've
people.
never heard them say one time that 1,200 people were not murdered.
I didn't
Not
say
in
that.
one paper.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said many of those numbers that were killed.
I do have a thing for silver foxes. I do admit that. But can you deny that he's a silver fox? No one can.
They were killed because of the indiscriminating interference by the Israeli troops, and many of them died because of
4 people were killed that way when they tried to rescue the hostages.
No, that did.
I have a dating site for leftists. It's called riverboat.gg/discord or just riverboat.gg, the ultimate dating site for lefties.
fact that you're trying to
Yeah, you're-
equivocate
you're-
1,200
you're-
people.
You're late in the game.
Basser.
You're late
It-
in the game. There was a woman that whose name is Dalia. She came out on an Israeli podcast and she said that everybody in the kibbutz were died. And then we went out and we said that the Israeli tank, the one that fired on the whole kibbutz.
This is bullshit stories.
All right.
You think the IDF is just coming in and just spraying down kibbutzes? That's like saying American troops are just coming into a conflict here
It's called-
and just spraying down fellow Americans.
It's called the Hannibal.
Bullshit.
It's called the Hannibal Protocol. Look it up.
Yeah, we'll look it up, but I think that's bullshit.
Bassem, I want to ask you a question. So going to that day, all the stuff that we found out since that day, we found out, Rob, that they knew, apparently they had information intelligence for a year that it was going to happen. The day that it happened, apparently all the defenses were down. Hamas got to run rampant for 6 hours. Mayhem. They asked, John Kirby went up, and one of the reporters from Fox asked, how did you guys not see this with all the intelligence? And he said, and I quote, now is not the time. Since October, it's not, what, 3 months, October, November, December. We're in January right now. They still don't know. We saw this thing called the Jericho Wall where Israel, a leaked document where Israel already had a plan of what to do with all these, all the displaced people. They want to send them all to Egypt and all the countries and the United States. Bibi Netanyahu was on a video saying how he could do whatever he wants in Gaza because Americans are gullible and he could do whatever on the home video. Bassem, what do you have an opinion on?
Like we literally have like what? Oh, there was a post that just went viral like yesterday. There's literally a video of like Israeli soldiers having captured and blindfolded a bunch of Palestinian men, forcing them to like sit on their knees or kneel, I guess, and forcing them into that position until they have to piss themselves. There's a video, like literally a video of like an Israeli soldier taunting a Palestinian man after he pees himself. Yeah, like it went a bit viral like 2 days ago. Like it's not like we have to look that hard for evidence of like horrific war crimes and tortures happening against captured Palestinians. By the way, not captured Hamas members. There's no evidence of them being Hamas. They're just military-aged Palestinian men. It is horrific. And the IDF, the soldiers in the IDF, keep taking videos and making like posts on TikTok about how great their war crimes are. It's going to be insane because it's probably one of the most documented genocides on the history of the earth, in the history of the earth. And it's being documented by the people doing it like with glee on social media. It's crazy.
The knowledge, the pre-knowledge of this was going to happen, and the fact that they got to wait, they got to do whatever they want for 6 hours with one of the sickest military, sickest intelligence. Do you think like they knew, they let it happen? How do you feel about?
I'm no military expert at all, but like watching this, the fact that they've been doing this for 6 hours, and this is the most guarded border ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't even have a dog pass by without being shot. And these walls has been tried and tested, and the fact that they get in and they continue, like the wall by itself is 7 meters up, 7 meters down the ground. It's one of the most fortified borders ever. And then you go in, the Apaches didn't even appear until after 6 hours.
That doesn't make sense.
And you understand like how Israel and Gaza and all of these are like very small. Mm-hmm. These are like very small. This is like a plane can be there in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, these are the questions that I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but these are the questions that the Israeli community has been asking. This kind of failure. A lot of people inside, again, conspiracy theories. I don't want to adopt any of them. It's like it's because of Bibi was having under a lot of pressure from his Supreme Court, so he wanted something to kind of like divert it. And when people want to divert something, like they make a conflict. Mm-hmm. But it kind of like it got out of hand. Mm-hmm. And the fact you can go in, lily-willy, with very primitive weapons and go inside of Israel and come up. I mean, just a year ago, there were 50 Palestinians that were killed by snipers just because they came in closer to the road,
border,
and they were like holding flags. So the fact that they go in and you see like all of these military bases empty for the taking and coming back with cars and with people and with hostages. I mean, if I'm an Israeli citizen, I would be pissed.
of course, I want to
I
answer
mean,
so it doesn't happen again.
I would like to have some answers. So I don't know.
But Bassem, let's go to the last thing because for me, I'm curious with solutions, right? Some say, well, this is going to keep happening. It's never going to stop. It's been going on for hundreds of years, couple thousand years. It's going to be ongoing for another couple thousand years. Perfect. Okay, fine. So that's one argument. Now, for the people that maybe are solution oriented and they want to figure out a way to, improve things. You said 06, Hamas gets elected because, what it was, but today it wouldn't happen. Today, if they do have an election, who controls the election? Because you were a little bit not elusive. You were not clear about why they're not having fair elections today. Who controls the elections?
I wish Hamas is not in charge of. I wish the whole thing about the Islamization, Judaism of this conflict is not there, because that is making everything worse.
So how do you get
the
rid
whole
of
idea
Hamas?
about like putting so much religion on the Israeli side and on the Muslim side? It has actually it is the reason why this conflict is getting worse and worse and worse. It's because now people are like kind of like rooting for the divine, and whenever you put religion in any conflict, this is going to get worse and worse. So the thing is, there is a problem, a fundamental problem for the rights of the Palestinians in the land of Palestine. Now, whether you create a Palestinian nation on the 22% after using, like Jimmy Carter once said, we would have to have like a two-state solution using Gaza, using the borders of 1967 with modification and land swap. That is what the Palestinian Authority are actually accepting. Hamas does not accept that. And there's other people who does not accept that. And at the same time, people on the Israeli side does not accept that. You have radical people on both sides who want all or none, and kind of fairly moderate people who want to stay in the middle and say, all right, let's have a little bit of a swap. But what is happening right now is the two-state solution is being shot and dead a long time ago. Because even if Benjamin Netanyahu, when he came out and he bragged about how he have spoiled the Oslo Accord and how Americans don't care and we have manipulated them and 80% of America are with us so we can do whatever the hell we want, even if we can kill as many Palestinians as possible. And he was there on camera. When he does that and there's no repercussions, I don't think it's going to get any better. And I think it's going to be a matter of time until those Palestinians will be, if it's not today, it's not this year, it's the year after, all of this Gaza will be cleared out and the Palestinians will be pushed into Sinai and Israel will take it over. And it will not stop like that, because if you put 2.2 million people, put them in Sinai, that will be a security threat, because those people will have an open access to the sea and they will have weapons, and then they will want to avenge what happened to them and they will go in and attack Israel. And now it's going to have a dual problem between a group of people, between Israel and Egypt, and that will not get any better. So I'm just like telling you, I'm not very optimistic about what will happen, because if you don't have justice and you don't have people what they want, they are just like people are going to get justice in themselves, and then they will be called militant terrorists, freedom fighters, no matter how you call them. But it's not going well.
So, regarding Gaza, and I'm trying to come from a solution-based approach here, to be honest. At the end of the day, everything comes down to money or security. You need that? Everything comes down to money or security. So,
You just got to pull your shirt up.
hold on.
Oh, what's going on?
It's a heater pad.
He's got a bad back. Let's get his back right before I ask this question. Hook up the shirt.
That's how we played. Massages. We got a masseuse coming in the house.
Well, thank you guys, because I'm really in pain. I can't even.
Well, you've been traveling for how many days?
We have what is called unreasonable hospitality here.
It is interesting that he's mentioned that he's in pain and on painkillers, and nobody's asked him like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like what's up?
Yeah, Pat doesn't play.
While we're having a friendly debate, we're going to make sure that your back's
All right, so
Okay, go ahead. Solution for Gaza.
well,
go
look,
for it.
Yeah.
Israel wants security. And Gaza, many countries in the Middle East need and want prosperity. Okay? Israel's whole thing, their whole contention is, listen, we just can't have another October 7th, period. And we're going to do everything to protect our citizens. The people in Gaza, they're no different than other people in the Middle East. They want prosperity. The problem in the Middle East, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's not just an Islamic issue. It's certainly not just an Israeli issue, because by the way, it is an Iranian issue. That's the tip of the spear when it comes to the mafia-like regime that's running Iran over there. But it's socioeconomic. People need economic improvements. People need political certainty. And when you combine that with Islamic fundamentalism, you sprinkle in a little jihad, throw in a little anti-Zionism and rhetoric, you'll get what's going on in Gaza. But look at the countries that are thriving in the Middle East, and look at the countries that are basically the Gazas of the Middle East. Unemployment rates. People need jobs, okay? If kids don't have jobs, if youth unemployment is skyrocketing, what are these young people supposed to do? The highest unemployment rate in the Middle East, Jordan, 23%. Palestinians right next to them, and also at 23%. Then you have Sudan, Libya, Tunisia, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, Afghanistan, Iran, Morocco, Syria, Turkey, Egypt, all above 10% unemployment, with the exception of your country of Egypt, 7%. Every single one of those countries, political upheaval, especially what's going on in Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine. But did you notice that all the good countries, high unemployment rate, low unemployment rates? Qatar, 0.3%, one of the richest countries on earth. They just had the World Cup there. Richest country in the Middle East. Bahrain, 1.9%. Israel, 3.3%. UAE, 3.4%. By the way, the UK's unemployment rate is 3.5%. So UAE is better than the UK. Kuwait, 3.7%. Same as the US.
This is leading to what I'm sure is going to be the smoothest brain take I've ever heard. I'm waiting for it. Like, you can practically ice skate on the frictionless surface he's weaving from his ideas here.
When people don't have jobs and they don't have purpose and they don't have meaning and they can't work and they can't basically have political economic sustenance for their family, they're going to resort to violence.
Yep.
That's why every single one of those countries that is 10% unemployment, those countries are, as Trump says, shithole countries. But all the nice countries, Qatar, UAE, they're all thriving. So it's not in a...
They're thriving for some people. Qatar has, like, good unemployment, I guess, but also they basically employ slave labor to do, like there were huge stories about how Qatar's stadium that they built for the World Cup was made using like exorbitant amounts of slave labor. Like, this is a well-known fact. Like, are you going to argue that the slaves are doing well because of low employment? Are you serious right now?
Islamic problem. It's an economic problem. Now, if you want to talk GDP, just for my last point, the countries with the lowest GDP per persons, those countries are disasters. Afghanistan. You know what the average person in Afghanistan makes a year? $350 a year.
Wow, I can't imagine. I can't imagine why Afghanistan would have such low GDP per person. It's really shocking. He really said the child unemployment rate? Yeah, no kidding. Like, this guy is so far gone, dude. Can anyone think of anything that might have happened over like the last, I don't know, 23 years that might have led to Afghanistan having an incredibly low GDP? I don't know. Can anyone? Totally unknowable. Really, we'll never have an answer about that one. Was there a war or something? Maybe like a 23-year long occupation.
Year, Afghanistan. Syria, 420. Yemen,
20 year.
650. Sudan, $1,100. Morocco, 3,400. Palestinians, above any of those guys, $3,700 a year. Lebanon, 4,000. Egypt, 40.
Oh wow! If their GDP is higher, their standard of living in their standard of living in the Gaza Strip must be just incredibly high, just exorbitant amounts of wealth, 10 times the amount of wealth that your average Afghani has. That's crazy. Maybe we should take like a. I wonder if we just like Google the Gaza Strip on Google image searches. I would love to see this fabulous Mecca he's describing. Oh, that's right. It's the fabulous Mecca he's describing is just being bombed to shit. Literally a third of all buildings in the Gaza Strip are gone. But sure, bud, talk about how they're prosperous.
4,200. Conversely, every single rich country has zero problems. Qatar, GDP, $87,000. Better than the United States. Better than the United States. Israel, 55,000. UAE, 54,000. Kuwait, 40,000. I can go on and on and on here. The bottom line is this, what I've seen in the Middle East, it comes down to socioeconomics. Then you sprinkle in a little Islamism in there. Why is every rich country in the Middle East have no problems? But all the poor countries are suicide bombings, terrorists. Gaza had the opportunity to invest billions of dollars into infrastructure.
In what?
Into infrastructure,
How?
but they built tunnels and bombs. But my question is,
No. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Gaza has not built tunnels and bombs.
You're wrong. You said like as if there was like some sort of a prosperous source of economy, and all of Gaza said took that and put it on in tunnels. What you're missing here is Gaza since 2006 is under blockade, and even the medicine, even the water, even the electricity is controlled by Israel. They don't have.
I'm not asking you about Gaza. I'm asking you about the Middle East. To be clear, you
I'm-
want to focus on Gaza and then you want to turn it back on Israel. I'm asking you
I'm
specifically.
sorry. Let's not talk about Israel if that will make you a little bit nervous.
We
wanna
can talk about Israel
you
for the
wanna
next
talk
2
about other
hours.
countries in the Arab world so we can prove that Arabs could be bombed at any time because we were fucking poor?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're saying.
No,
It's like they're just like poor people killing each other, and we're just like there watching them.
No.
I'm sorry that, dude. I like you, but seriously, your undertone is fucking racist from the beginning until the end. You are looking at those people as lesser people who have made bad choices, and because they are poor, they are okay to be fucking bombed by Israel.
Okay, this is the third time you've used the racist word. I've never said that once about you.
Your undertone is very, very, very offensive for these
So
people.
when I read stats,
Yeah,
You don't like my tone when I read stats?
You read the stats basically telling people like, you see, because they're rich, they got this.
Yeah, it's not the fact that you're using stats. It's the argument you're making with the stats. Stats in and of themselves, not racist. But if you're going to use the stats to support a racist argument, you're being racist. This isn't a hard thing to figure out. The argument you're making is that, well, the Palestinians are just poor people fighting against each other. Like that. What you need to do is be able to like make a good argument with the stats, and he's just not.
To themselves, the rich people are better, the poor people are okay, so we can have to kill them every now and
That's
then.
not what I said. And you're putting words in my mouth, and it's actually super disrespectful. I'm reading stats to you. I'm saying, how can we uplift the poor countries in the Middle East? How can
Remove
we turn...
the blockade. That's number one.
No. I said the Middle East, funny guy.
Remove the blockade.
I said the Middle East. You're talking about Gaza. I'm naming all these countries that are thriving. Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Israel, Silicon Valley of the Middle East. What can be done with the countries that are quote unquote shitholes?
Okay, give me a country like a shithole. Give me an example.
I'm looking at the unemployment rates in all these countries.
Give me one country.
Afghanistan,
Okay.
Syria,
Afghanistan.
Lebanon.
Why Afghanistan became a shithole country?
Because they endorsed the Taliban.
They did.
Yes.
Isn't that a little bit of a reductive?
Oh, it became a shithole country because they Embrace the Taliban. I'm really looking forward to the response here. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna be good.
Way to tell history, because at the beginning there was no Taliban, and then the Soviet Union came in, and then America came in, supported the Taliban, make them bigger than they were, and then at the end of the day they support. If you remember Rambo 3 was supporting the Taliban, so Taliban was really cool, and even they were even hailed by right-wing Christians as freedom fighters, anti-communists. And then what happened? America, some people like the Richard Wilson Wall wanted him to come in to put some schools. That no. We spend all of this money of tanks on weapons. We don't need to put them schools. What happened? Taliban flourished, all because of America interfered, made it shitty, left everything. Taliban flourished, and then America went in again, spent $2 billion, making it even, two terrorism laws made it even worse. So when you tell me like a country is not surviving, it's not because there are bad people there. No. You have to come into the root cause. Every single country that you said, I can bring you the root cause of how America and the West has fucked this country to become.
Go to Syria, go to Lebanon, go to there.
Yeah.
Bashar al-Assad, killing his own people, gassing his own people. Tell me what that's Americans' fault.
Who's he supported? Who was he supported by?
That's the whole problem in the Middle East.
Okay.
You have Sunni, you have Shiite, you've got Houthi.
No, he's asking which geopolitical superpower supported Bashar al-Assad. I wonder if we Google Bashar al-Assad, if we might find any clues about his rise to power and who might have supported that and perpetuated it in favor of him. Turns out that Bashar al-Assad was supported at different times by the United States government. It's crazy. Because he used Syria's key point in the Middle East between the East and the West to kind of play a little bit of both sides, see how far he could get. You know, sometimes he played nice with the Americans, sometimes he played nice with the Russians. And now Assad is being predominantly supported by Russian fascists. That's true, Menesench. Yep, in 1980, Saddam Hussein was awarded a key to the city of Detroit after he donated almost $500,000 to a church in the city. Odd, even. That's crazy.
Rebels, you got
every
people,
single country in the Middle East.
It's a quagmire wrapped in a riddle, and then surrounded by Islamic terrorists.
Every single Middle
Figure it out.
Bashar Hussein is not. You cannot really put Bashar Hussein as a Islamic terrorist thing, you know?
Because he's fighting ISIS, which we're funding ISIS to fight against Bashar al-Assad.
Who's funding ISIS?
You tell me.
Qatar, who's actually funded by the United States. All right. So you don't understand. You see, this is how complicated.
Yep. Like, he doesn't even know, like, the basics of what's going on here. Like, to him, Qatar is, like, just, you know, like a piece on a board. Like, it's not, like, it doesn't have any of its interests of its own. It's just being moved by, like, you know, the United States. As opposed to having its own interests that it's actively pursuing and its own goals. You know?
I do understand how complicated.
Which, by the way, is true of every state, which is why you need a nuanced view of geopolitics.
complicated it is.
People in the Middle East are either supported by Russia or supported by America, and they're fighting each other. So at the end of the day, you have people who have come to power because they have been supported by one of the superpower, and they're fighting against each other.
Yeah.
You know, you have
This is historically true. I think it's also becoming increasingly true that Iran is kind of growing into its own as a regional hegemon in the area. So like I think now it's more so like United States, Russia, and Iran.
you have the Hamiditi and you have the army in Sudan. Each one of them is supported by external powers. So it's not about like the Islamization of them. It's not about the economy is bad because at the end of the day, these are warlords who are fighting against each other. But to reduce that, in order, why can't they just like make some money while you completely ignore the power of the international powers that are involved into that? Like, for example, the country like Mali. Mali is like very, very restless. And the reason Mali is restless, that Paris is there and it's putting up like some sort of a puppet president, so Paris can continue taking its share of gold and put it into its coffers. So it's much more complicated than just selling Islamization or not Islamization. All of these power of play, you just gave me a Taliban and I give you the reason why America did that. Saddam Hussein, right? Saddam Hussein, he was the baby of the United States administration. And then he went in and he invaded Kuwait. Who gave him the money? Who gave him that kind of power? All right, it has been going on forever. The superpower are using the smaller countries, and they are controlling their own leaders in order to go fight each other. Because at the end of the day, it works for them.
No, I'm in full agreement with you that that's a mystery wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a quagmire. What's going on in the Middle East?
That's actually not what he said at all. So you're not agreeing with him on anything he just said. I think he literally can't understand what Bassem Youssef is saying. I think like he doesn't have the reading comprehension, the listening comprehension here. Comprehension in general. Like he explained it to you in very simple terms. I agree, it's an unknowable mystery.
And I'm in full agreement with you that there are proxy wars all over the Middle East, no doubt. But the tip of the spear that's funding all the chaos, Pat has said that this is the year of chaos. The tip of the spear with the chaos is Iran. And who's funding Iran? China, Russia, they have a relationship. Azerbaijan, they have some sort of relationship. How do you deal with Iran? Because Iran's greatest export...
Let's bomb it.
We haven't done it yet.
No, let's bomb it.
I don't think we should bomb it.
I think we should.
Okay.
No, let's bomb it.
Then let's elect you for a government official, and you're no better than what's going on. You have no better than the ministers. So you're the Nikki Haley camp. Let's go for it.
That's the answer. Bomb Afghanistan, bomb Iraq, bomb Palestine, bomb Iran, and let's see what happens.
I speak sarcasm better than the next guy. I trust you. I know you're being sarcastic. But what do you do about a regime that is funding Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah? They are the ones who are sowing discord. What do you do about Iran?
I remember like Colin Powell in the Security Council, like, let's bomb Iraq. And then they bombed Iraq. How is bombing Iraq done to this country?
It was a fucking disaster.
Oh, yeah, really? But it will not be a fucking disaster to bomb Iran, right?
What, guys, what I'm in my head, all I can think of during this conversation is, I forget what show it's from. I think it might have been from Seinfeld, the idea of like, okay, you know, what do couples in failing marriages do? We open up, they open up their marriage, and they start sleeping with other people and seeing other people, but it never works out. But what if it could for us? It's Arrested Development. Arrested Development. Can I just get here?
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but but it might work for us.
It might work this time.
I'm agreeing with you. I know that
Yeah.
you're speaking
No,
sarcasm, so people
but
that
you
aren't
see, you
watching.
say like, oh, it's all about Iran. It starts like this.
Of course, it is all about
Because, like,
Iran.
because
Who's funding the Houthis? Who's funding Hezbollah?
because
Who's
20
funding Hamas?
Because 20 years
billions of dollars they're giving to terrorist
because
organizations.
20 years ago,
and you just
20
want to
years
ignore
ago,
that?
20 years ago, it was Iraq, and 20 years ago, it was Afghanistan, and they bombed them.
I got a question for both of you. I'm actually really curious and listen to both of you guys. This is my question. Okay. The part that both of you guys agree that we had a guy on the only guy, one of the guys I've had on a couple times, his name is John Perkins. He wrote a book called The Economic Hitman. I don't know if you've read the book.
I
You know who he is. Okay. And one of the things he talked about the model on what it was, they go to president, and that's what he did, by the way. This was his job, okay? He goes to a country that has a natural resource or location, oil, it's close to something that they can have some kind of control. And they go to him and they say, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to come here and we're going to bring billions of dollars of infrastructure to your country. However, here's what you're going to give us. Okay? And then the presidents who said no, he says, a couple of them they killed.
Oh, shit.
That was his job, okay? And he doesn't say he killed them, but he says, if you said no, when I went back and I had to report back to the people that I work for that you're saying no to, guess what? Bad things are going to happen to you and your family.
Wow.
And it happened. Then the next model was we bring infrastructure, then we make the country go bankrupt. Then you give us everything, then we control you. Are we naive enough to believe?
That's what China is doing now.
Exactly. But pre-China, we did that.
America did that,
and
for a long
others
time.
have done that, and Russia's done that. Other people,
course.
and UK tried to do that to Iran, and then later on, eventually, UK, US, Germany, France. These guys got rid of the Shah because, coup and all. The people have been involved with economic hitman for a long time. Here's a question for you, Bassem. Here's a question for you, Adam. Okay, so we both agree that that's going on. Okay, we both agree that that's been going on for many decades. No one can even dispute it nowadays. But now we're in this shithole. And what I mean by shithole, shit show, is insanity everywhere. Bassem, what do you do now? Is it more from the standpoint where a part of you was almost not optimistic? You're like, Pat, I think this thing's going to go and nothing's going to happen. It's going to continue all this other stuff, right? What do we do now? We were told during 2015, 2016, when it was a debate between Hillary Clinton and Trump.
Yeah.
And what were we told? If Trump becomes a president, a war is going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So everybody, we're all like, oh, shit, it's going to be pretty bad. This guy's going to have do you really want this guy to have the finger on the button? Okay. He goes in. ISIS disappears. There's no war. It's quiet, low-key. Everything's good. Boom, boom, boom. And then
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. It's not like an international coalition of forces work together to destroy ISIS. It's not like Iran also contributed enormous amounts of people and material to destroy ISIS. Patrick Bet-David is a silly goose. He literally thinks that Trump destroyed ISIS personally, ignoring the fact that ISIS still exists, ignoring the fact that still exists to the extent that it just carried out a terrorist attack in Iran, one of the largest terrorist attacks in Iran in recent memory. And also, Iran, the reason they attacked Iran is because Iran is against ISIS and has been doing most of the fighting in the region against ISIS pretty successfully. The Kurdish military, it brought the Kurds and Iraq and Iran together. It's crazy. But I guess Trump did it. Nope, it was just Trump.
No, and then boom, Biden gets elected. He's going to be peace. He's going to bring everybody together. He's going to bring this. Then he comes in, and then next thing you know, Afghanistan happens within months. $83 billion of equipment being left. And you got Ukraine, Russia, and then you got this. And then there's a bunch of guys, economists, that are talking about, this is China's year to try to invade Taiwan because Taiwan's got an election coming up.
It's a shit show, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but the point is, there's so many contradictions in politics as well. At a point like this, Bassem, where mainstream media is not going to tell us the real story because they're maybe not even getting the real story themselves on what's happening behind closed doors. What do you do today?
There is one of the most advanced military armies in the region, in the world, supported by the West, supported by America, have voting, like, they're diverting their vote all over, and they're killing people for all that time, and nobody is doing anything for
Who are
Israel.
you talking about?
I'm talking about Israel.
Okay.
All right? So the killing has to stop. And I'm not talking about Gaza. I'm talking about what they do in the West Bank. Every single day in the West Bank, all of these people are being killed in the West Bank. And there's no Hamas came out from West Bank to do the 7th of October. All right? Just a couple of days ago, like a woman was walking with her children, stop, pop, snap, walking the street. That is the regular days of people in the West Bank. Do you think the problem is Gaza? What you see in Gaza is an accelerated, exaggerated form of what's happening in the West Bank too. So you have a country that has occupied the land, and they are like making people living like animals. And if you deal people with like animals, they will come up as animals, right? So that is the crux of all. We can talk about politics and about economy. It's here till the kingdom comes. What is happening is horrible injustice happening every single day. They're taking people, strip them up, saying them that they're Hamas. You have like an 11-person being killed every hour.
Yep.
You have 247 person being killed every day. That is in 5 days. That is like 1,400 people that were killed on this October 7th. You have 30,000 people. And the thing is, when you say 20,000, 30,000, numbers don't don't mean anything anymore. If I told you 1 million people died in Gaza, you will not flinch because their numbers have become so...
It would absolutely not surprise me whatsoever to find out that Patrick Bet-David was shilling for crypto.
It's true.
See, it's nobody.
I don't disagree.
So we go into these circular motions. How can we stop that again? How is it? No, there is killing happening every day. My wife's family have actually cheated death so far for 100 days because they've been running from Khan Yunis to Rafah, back to Khan Yunis, and they were told in the beginning that Khan Yunis and Rafah are the safe place because it's in the south. And then they were telling them these are the safe path.
Yeah.
Take these three safe paths. These are the buses. They will run into the buses, and Israel will bomb the buses.
Shilling for crypto.
After
like
being guaranteed that this is a
cryptocurrency.
safe path. This is murder every day. So I don't know all of these circular words about like river to the sea, what's happening. That doesn't make any sense while people are being killed every single day. We have a tragedy, a genocide, a Holocaust happening in Gaza, and everybody is just like playing their balls. It's like, what do you think about the economy? What do you think about that? What do you think about Iran? That's bullshit. There's killing happening right now, and we're just like watching it and trying to fill time with useless conversation.
But how do you fix it short term, though? Because short term...
Make Israel stop. There's no...
How do you do that? Okay, how do you do
exactly. America has to tell Israel stop because basically Israel is a client state. It's taking all of its money in the States. It has actually sucked America dry with all of the money that it's taking away from him, and yet it's not doing anything.
So why do you think Biden administration is not telling them to stop?
Because they are fucking cowards. Because it seems that every 4 years, every American president go and kiss the hand and bend the knees and go to AIPAC to make them sure that Israel is much more important in their foreign policy than America itself. And the only one who did not do it was Bernie Sanders, the only Jewish American candidate who refuses to go to AIPAC. And you cannot call that anti-Semitic, right? And you have to be very, very careful about being anti-Semitic or anti-Jew, because if you call me anti-Semitic, I'm just like, I'm going to fuck you, man. I'm not. Like my idol is Jon Stewart. Bernie Sanders, I voted for him for presidency. Is this whole thing about like using anti-Semitic and Islamophobe and all that you can do and transphobe to shut down the conversation? It's bullshit. You have a murderous country who have lied to the international community, who have actually neutered its own Ethiopian women because they didn't want black people to reproduce, who kidnapped Yemenis Jewish people from their parents, who have like countless atrocities, who even have zoning laws like Jim Crow. It's like, what are this? This is like a racist country that is supported by the United States, and it's killing. And you know, it's fine. There's a lot of racist country, horrible people, but I've never seen a country killing 30,000 people within 100 days. This is 10 times the number of Ukrainians being killed in Russia in 2 years. It does not make any sense. And about nuclear weapons, yes, they have calculated it. Right now, they've calculated the number of weapons that have, by the TNT, they have around like three nuclear weapons in a very, very small part. So it's really about the killing. Stop the killing, and then we can talk.
Yeah, but that's okay. So
that's that. Like, now let's not stop the kidding. Let's talk more about
No,
certain,
not what I'm saying. No, what
certain stuff that doesn't make any sense.
what I'm
was-
saying,
what was your
what I'm saying is
specific question?
Biden. No, I'm asking the question to say we're so in too deep that the amount of parties involved is not as simple as stop the killing, because you know the only way this works, and I know you're a diehard President Trump fan. I know you're a big fan of his, and you campaigned for him and all that stuff. I've heard you getting up there. You open up for him all the time, which is beautiful.
Oh,
to
I love
see.
Trump. He's my favorite.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why do you think? Sometimes you sit there and you say, "Man, I can't stand that person. That person is da 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 da." And then, shit, maybe am I wrong myself? Maybe that guy's not as bad as I think that guy's. Fuck, there's no way in the world I can say anything good about him. No way. If I do, God forbid if I do, right? Okay. Do you think, like, every family, has that one tough guy in the family. And when that person is alive, nobody does anything stupid. Do you know what I'm talking? Every family has it. You have it. I have it. We all have it, right?
Yeah, the main issue is that Biden has a lot more tools at his disposal to really bring Israel to a more like acceptable solution outside of killing all the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, and he's simply not using them. He's simply not playing hardball with the Israelis. He's not playing hardball with Netanyahu, and that's really the only thing, getting down to brass tacks and like actually using the weight of the United States. That's really the only card left to play, and it's just not being played, and it should have been played like 3 months ago.
It's an uncle, it's a grandfather, it's a father, it's somebody.
Is the
right?
bully?
He's not the bully. It's not the bully. It's the guy that doesn't allow the bully to bully. That guy. Okay. It's the guy that does
protector. You mean?
Yeah, it's like the protector. It's kind of like you don't want to wake that guy up. Like, that one scene from Christopher Walken in a movie says, every once in a while, the lion is sitting there and they come and pull him and they do this and they do that.
The hyenas are biting his
Every
ankle.
once in a while, the lion has to wake up and tell everybody. He says everybody knows what the lion is capable of.
Yes.
Right? This is why people put on their house sign that says what? There's a vicious dog,
yeah.
On the back, or this house believes in the Second Amendment. Whether they have a gun or not, the person that's trying to rob the house is going to say what? I don't want to go and rob a house that may have a gun in there, right? Mm-hmm. So that sign avoids conflict.
Yes.
Why do you think, Bassem? I'm so curious to know what kind of an answer you're going to give to this. Why do you think during Trump there was no war, no conflict, and we were expecting to see World War III under him? Why do you think?
I have no idea. And I think because maybe Trump, as much as I don't like him, he was kind of business oriented. He said, I'm not going to, how much will that war cost me? No, I'm not going to do that. So maybe that's the one thing. And that's kind of something to be good on his behalf, although I'm not a big fan. I have a problem with other policies. But I don't think, maybe that's the only thing.
But Bassem, what about...
Let me stay on
Go,
this.
because I was going to ask a question too.
Because, okay, on the spending side, it's going to cost us money. He's a business. That's an interesting perspective. But okay, how about this one? How about the fact that, he says, hey, you have a button, I have a bigger button. Hey, you do this, I know exactly where you are right now and I can destroy you.
What he's describing right now is the politics of being a warlord. He's just describing the politics of being a feudal warlord, which is not actually applicable to being like in a globalized society where like nation states have to deal with each other with more subtlety and nuance than like a warlord saying, hey, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to kill you. He's just advocating for like a mentality that would have killed everyone during the Cold War.
I would much rather not. How about the fact that he put the fear in people that wanted to bully and take advantage of other people, so nobody did during his time?
Maybe, but you also have to remember that COVID came in right in the middle.
That was
of the
3 years later. That was 3
No,
years.
that was actually
2.5 years later.
Yeah, but you know,
The first 2.5, or still, if the COVID came, that's even a bigger opportunity. But
I have no clear answer. I'm the only thing is like, this is gonna cost us money. I don't want to spend money. That's the only thing I remember.
but you know what though? You're a smart guy and a reasonable guy, because for me, like if I were to sit there and say, what did Clinton do? I voted for Clinton. The freaking last time we had a balanced budget, him and Newt.
Like also he tried to violently seize control over our democracy. He tried to overthrow democracy itself. He's like, but don't you think sometimes you need a guy like that? No, actually. No, I don't. I'm not a simp for authoritarians, unlike Patrick Bet-David.
Gingrich worked together, right? So, what did Reagan do? Reagan and Tip O'Neill would go have beer together afterwards as two Irishmen. They would fight throughout the day, but at 6 o'clock, they're at the bar sitting there having a drink together, right? You don't have to like the enemy or
Fascism
somebody
is
that
bad.
maybe
It's true.
policy-wise you disagree with. You may say, I don't agree with them on pro-life, pro-choice. I don't agree with them on blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with them on this. But
Oh, yeah,
holy
mentioning
moly,
Soleimani would have
the
been good.
temperature was super low during Trump than we have today. Everybody that was
By the way, this is an insane thing to think. Given like the assassination of Soleimani, one of the top military officials in Iran, like given the fact that he was like seriously considering nuking North Korea and then trying to blame another country for it. That's an actual plan he had. Considering he got us involved in the coalition war against ISIS, that was actually not a quiet thing to do. The bombings in Syria, I remember early on he did an assassination with the SEALs. Like he had more drone strikes than Obama, the former king of the drone war. In what way did he cool things down? Because he didn't actually. He was out there exacerbating key areas of conflict nonstop.
talking about Biden's a sweet man, he's a unifier, he's this, he's that.
Wait, I'm muted? Did you guys not hear me? Hello? You guys can hear me, right? I heard? Okay, cool.
Dude, we got it's almost a World War III. Categorically, we can't say it, but there's a world going on right now.
Because he's supporting Israel.
But so did Trump, though.
Yeah, but Israel didn't do the attack during Trump.
And you know what Trump said about Netanyahu? Did you hear what Trump said about Netanyahu?
Right.
Can you pull up a clip about what Trump said about Netanyahu, where Trump said, after what happened with Bassem Soleimani, okay, you remember when he took out Bassem Soleimani, who was supposed to be like the next leader, he was the number 2 guy in Iran. He criticized Netanyahu and said he almost didn't trust him because when Netanyahu said he was going to be in it with him, he didn't. So the part about Trump is he doesn't have a problem Wait, you criticized Netanyahu? Your daughter's married to Kushner. What are you doing criticizing
I don't know if that will be the same.
Yeah, I don't think Trump has a particularly bad reputation or confrontational relationship with Israel, considering that he literally has a neighborhood named after him in the Golan Heights called Trump Heights. Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, I think it was named after him after U.S. backing allowed them to formally annex formally, but go through with it anyway. By the way, again, Israeli settlements in the Golan Heights are widely regarded as illegal under international law. So, fun stuff. But sure, yeah, he has a very antagonistic relationship with the government of Israel. Ignore the fact that they've literally named portions of illegal settlements after him.
Same if it was like more of a massive like military operation.
Did he say that because
it wouldn't
Kushner is
happen
Jewish?
otherwise.
Because like when you
100%.
kill someone,
Yeah.
a kind of like repercussion kind of like die very quickly. But this is like an ongoing for more than 3 months. So I don't know how Trump would
Are
react.
you a sports guy?
Yeah.
What do you like? What sport?
Basketball.
Do you
Call
like
that a dog
basketball?
whistle?
Yeah.
You know what they say, it's like sometimes like these teams like, Baltimore Ravens or some of the teams like even back in the days, I don't know if you're a Detroit Pistons guy or if you're an old school basketball guy or not. A lot of the guys won because their defense was sick, right? They just had a sick defense. Or you wouldn't come through the middle or they just were freaking hovering all over. It was so annoying.
Yeah, like
right?
the Jordan rules in Pistons.
That's right. The Jordan Rules
Good night,
Pistons, right?
Salmon Moose.
Sometimes, the best way to prevent a war is to have the fear you impose on everybody else where defense where it's like, you know what? We're just not even going to get there. I don't even want to do anything under this guy. Do you think at this point,
He literally thinks war is analogous to basketball. Okay, cool.
like, for example, case studies. You've been here since 2014, right? November 11, 2014. So do you think 10 years? You've been here 10 years. I came here November 28, 1990, okay? And you come here like, okay, a senior, Bush senior. All right, Clinton. Huh, interesting. Okay, boom. Junior, GW. Interesting. Okay, Obama. Huh, there's a Trump. Huh. So now you got so many case studies, and then in life, you sit there and you say, socially, these are the issues that matter to me the most, right? If you and I were to start a country together, if you and I started a country together and we got 10 million people, okay, and we have an opportunity to attract another 10 million people to our country, what do you think the mothers and the fathers' number one priority is to come to a new country? Do you think it's Social Security? No. Do you think it's Medicare? No. What do you think is number one? I would say the S word, right? Security and safety, let's just say, okay? A woman wants to feel safe around a man. A woman wants to feel secure around a man, right? If the number one word is the S word, especially the last 3 years, do you think a lot of people in the last 3 years are sitting there reprioritizing their top reason to elect a president as somebody that's going to lower the temperature to not have war? Do you think America's kind of there today after all the mess we've seen the last 3 years?
I still have hope in America. I still like.
By the way, I love that he had to, in order to try and walk Bassem to the point he wants to use Bassem to make. He had to spend like 10 minutes asking the rambliest question we've ever heard in our lives. What is this argument? It's like a bunch of random like gobbledygook. And then, don't you think I'm right?
Like this country this month. I consider this as my own country. I find it like I found a second chance when I left the Middle East. I think America is actually a great country. It has a lot of potential, and it has given a lot of people, including me, a second chance. So I believe in the idea of America. And the fact that I criticize America, I criticize it like we do. We criticize it out of love in order to be better.
Of course.
And what I'm worried about is like over the years, America might have lost that kind of lure because it has been dragged more and more by my military industry complex. And the money has been prioritized in order to spend money on war, spend money on the military.
I agree.
And I think 68% of your budget is taken to the military. And that's not a lot of, that's huge. And many of these military contracts has been exaggerated. In 60 Minutes just shows something that used to cost $30 now costs $3,000, and there's no catch. There's no curb of these prices because they are the one who are making up the prices.
Right.
So yes, the security is great and all, but security in itself, because North Korea has security, right? It's not about the security. This is education, and there is and the equality and people.
Let me answer this. Hang on one second.
Chris Cuomo.
Mr. Cuomo, we're on a podcast. Why are you calling us, man? We're in the middle of a podcast.
Name dropping.
Yeah, I mean,
Chris. What are you talking about? I'm doing a live podcast with this
With this,
legendary comedian Bassem Youssef, and we're having a very friendly conversation
It's
about,
not even his name.
you know, how his. Honestly, I'm a little confused because he's here campaigning on behalf of Trump, and we're listening to him, and I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced.
Why does he not have a red hat on?
No, he has the shirt on. He's
And
not
his
wearing the
shoes,
hat.
he has MAGA
It's-
shoes on.
He's got MAGA shoes.
Oh, there is a Chris Cuomo, yeah. But like, what? This is. Are they trying to be funny? Like, is this set up as like a bit? Is this supposed to be charming?
Shoes on and MAGA shirt on. No, but Chris, I'm gonna call you afterwards. We're on the live podcast. I'll call you right after this.
Do you think?
My man, bye.
Hold on, my phone.
So, but
Hold on,
going back,
Pat,
but
my
going
phone's
back to
ringing,
it, but
Pat.
going back,
Elon.
going back to what
I got
the.
Jon Stewart on the line.
You're
John?
so funny.
Yeah, I'm here with Bassem. We're,
Oh shit!
we're best
hold
friends.
On, hold on, Elon.
Okay,
Elon?
yeah.
No, but the reason why I'm asking this question is because, you know, when you're young, your dad's kicking your ass, challenging you all this stuff. You know what? Look at Joey's dad. They smoke weed together. I wish my dad would smoke weed with me. Look at Bobby's dad. They have drinks together. I wish my dad. Look at us. I wish someone. And later on, you're like, dude, I am so freaking glad that guy was tough on me. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Thank you for this.
No, this is crazy. Like, this is like, oh yeah, I'm so glad my dad beat me. What? Like, you could have learned without your father beating you. This is just you falling for the propaganda.
So for me, I'm sitting there, you know, thinking like a lot of people are sitting around saying, well, look, what is the most important, you know, issue for us to sit there and resolve? I think the last 3 years, people are sitting there saying, look, man, we already went through COVID. That was nasty. It divided America. I think COVID, at least 9/11, we went like this. I think COVID, we went like this. I think maybe you agree with that. We went way like this. Your team vax? Your team vax? You're this, I'm team, you do them? No way. Hey, so you team them something? There's a mask shutdown or something? It was all like so divided, right? I think Americans are tired. They're tired of the fights with the family and the relatives, and we have to hate each other and all this other stuff. We can disagree on 4 different policies. But guess what, man? I think America is the greatest country in the world. Still, I think it's the greatest country in the world. Does it have a history of some of the stuff they've done with economic hitman? Yeah, it's documented. Did Eisenhower tell us be careful with this military-industrial complex? Of course. Do you know how many military contractors we had? Not contractors, where they sold products and supplies, military like General Dynamics and Boeing and all these companies. You know how many of these we had 40 years ago? 50-plus companies. You know how many it is today? 5. The 5 bought the other 45.
Wow.
So there used to be so much competition. Now it's come like this.
It's a monopoly.
It's becoming almost a form of a nationalization because politicians are getting
What?
so much check from them, the lobbying amount of money they're spending. So they're like, hey, man, we'll start a war. Of course, yeah, we should kill and bomb Iran. Nikki Haley, she sat on the board of Boeing, and no wonder you want another war because these people want another war because they're going to get another contract. That promise was made by Eisenhower as a Republican president that said,
Dude.
be careful with this, where these guys going to want to go to war. All I'm saying is, I think what this election has done, this last 3 years, I think whether you're left, right,
What he's talking about is capitalism. Capitalism is what does this. This is capitalism, like, as reflected through, like, the military-industrial complex. It's not nationalized. They're just lobbying the government constantly with their massive amounts of money. That's legal because of capitalism and is undermining our democracy because of capitalism.
center, I think the most popular thought on every woman, man, father, husband, mother, wife is, guys, I just want to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
I just want us to be safe. And I think
Speaking of, I just want you all to consider hitting the follow button over on Twitch, hitting the subscribe button on YouTube, hitting the like button on the YouTube stream. In fact, let me take a quick look to see how many of you have actually followed through and hit the like button on this stream so I can shame you all publicly. Hey, look at that. You guys hit 86 likes on the stream. Good job, folks. And you know, if we get 14 more, that's even better. Then we get a nice round 1 hundo. And also consider dropping some subs and donos because we have been going for 6.5 hours. And I'm doing my best here to hold it down, but you know, it's tough out here being a hustler, all right? I was a bad girl, I forgot to like. Well, Trans Girl Jade, thank you for hitting the like button now. And if anyone would like to support the stream and help me to continue having healthcare and the ability to eat food and pay rent, I would very, very much appreciate it because that is where I am able to make my living. It's from the kind contributors of people in the audience. Y'all, this is literally brought to you by viewers like you. So thank you very, very much. Let's see here. Back to this.
I think that's at the top of the mind of a lot of people. And I'm so curious as a businessman who likes case studies to see how America is going to react to Afghanistan, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, potentially China, Taiwan. I am so curious to know how they're going to react to the election this year. So curious.
It's going to be wild.
Because I think that's at the top of their mind. Mm-hmm. I think that's at the top of their mind. Bassem, what do you think?
Well, I want to get it back a little bit because since we were talking about Palestine and Israel, I think the most dangerous thing when you talk about this is you either called a terrorist or anti-Semitic and whatever, right? And people, I would see the people who are the very pro-Israel, who really supported Israel on 7th of October, many of them are actually anti-Semitic, especially right-wing politicians, Matt Gaetz, and MTJ, and all of those people. Those people, they love Israel, but they hate the Jews. They're anti-Semite. It is very obvious. And this is why you see the dichotomy about how the Jewish Voices for Peace, these are Jewish people in New York. They come in and they take over the central station, and they're all Jewish, and they say, not in my name. The whole idea is conflating Israel and with Judaism is wrong. And I think the most dangerous thing that can happen to the Jewish people of the world is to have Israel as their representative, because a lot of Jewish people don't like them to be their representatives, as many Muslims don't like some of those Islamic regimes representing them. This whole idea about making it's all or none, no. Israel have actually done a lot of criminal activities that a lot of Jews do not agree upon. And a lot of the people who go out in New York, in Brooklyn, in Los Angeles, these are Jewish people shouting, not in my name. Many of those people are actually Holocaust survivors, like Gabor, who was like a very famous Holocaust survivor himself, and he say Israel is a Zionist, terrorist, apartheid country. So if you think like I'm saying this because of my Muslim or Arab background, listen to the other Jews. They're saying that Israel is the criminal here, and it's been supported time and time and time again by the EU, by American administration. I'm not asking for anything that is out of the box. I'm asking them to stop the killing. Because let's say 7th of October, worst day ever. Okay. How many people are you going to continue to kill in order to get your revenge? Because it seems that you will not be able to eradicate Hamas. As a matter of fact, you can kill 100,000 people today. What you have created is 100,000 Hamas killers. No. This has never, Israel tried it before 2004 and it failed 2006 and failed 2009 and failed 2012, 2014. And every time Israel came in and they killed many people as possible and they came back. The solution for this is not more killing, more war. I know people like war solves everything. You will not be able to solve everything with war. The whole idea about this is to justice. If there is land to be given back, give back the land. If there is agreement to be done, do the agreement and sit together, because believe me, whatever cost you think is too high giving up the land, it will not come close to the cost of human lives that we are losing every life, whether on the Jewish side or the Muslim side, or the Israeli side, or the Arab side.
So how do you get rid of Hamas?
Get rid of the reasons that created Hamas.
Which is what?
The horrible living conditions, the blockade, putting people in prison, not allowing people to get their own destiny. If you do that in any more, listen, Israel could have been founded in Uganda, which, by the way, the British government gave the Jews 8,000 acres, and then they said no to 1903. If Israel wanted to go to Uganda, you can.
The PBD podcast occasionally has confrontational guests on, like lefties. Like they've had Sam Cedar on, and that was a very, very fun episode because, again, very similar to Bassem Youssef, just absolutely cut through their bullshit.
Have in Uganda Hamas. If you make people and put them in the lands of other people, there are already 2 million people that are already there, and then you just push them around, you will have resistance. Right? And the thing is, Hamas wasn't there since 1984.
Oh, we should beef up
Hamas
antitrust
was
laws,
created in
absolutely.
1987. Until 1987, Israel killed 100,000 Palestinians since 1948. It's not about the PLO, because Israel took Israel in 1948. The PLO was created in 1964. These are all a result of what Israel has been doing.
Why do you mention Uganda? Because the British proposed that the Jews should move to Africa and Uganda. Pull up Uganda on a map, just so we're clear. What does that have to do with anything?
What I'm saying is before the Israeli were the Jews were transported to Palestine.
You know, right after that whole, World War II Holocaust genocide thing.
No, before.
Yeah.
Before.
During that time.
No, before. I'm talking about 1882.
Mm-hmm. When the Zionist movement started.
Exactly, 1882.
Gotcha. Yep.
At that time, there were only 3% of Jews living in Palestine. Mm-hmm. And they were like different. They were like, they said Argentina, they said Chile, Madagascar, South Africa, and Uganda. In 1903, the British government offered the Jewish people about 80,000 acres in Uganda. Mm-hmm. And they said no. And the reason that they said no, so there's, there was like a big, this is very interesting, there was a big conflict between the rabbis and the secular Jewish movement. So the rabbis said, like, we cannot go, the rabbis were the one who actually objected, said, we cannot go to Palestine. It's like, what do you mean? It's the promised land. It's like, yes, it's the promised land when the real Jesus comes. So the secular said, well, maybe we should go to Palestine, and that will invite real Jesus to come. It was like a whole, by the way, this is all in Tudor Herzl memoirs. You can read about that. And even 1903.
This is the basis of the
Tudor
evangelical movement.
Herzl, in page 96, in the pamphlet for the Jewish state, he said, maybe the Jewish people should just get what they can. So what I'm saying is these were discussions at the end of the 19th century and the 20th century. And then there's like the movement that wanted to put the the Jewish people in Israel actually won, and it happened very, 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 very slowly. By 1914, there were about 7% of Jewish people in Palestine. Now, when the Balfour Declaration happened, the only one who rejected the Balfour Declaration of like putting Jews in Palestine was a Jewish British businessman in the parliament and said, like, those people are British people and we should not put them into another place. I'm just giving you the historical.
You're giving us the history. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I get it. But I doubt the Jews were like, yo, Uganda, let's do it. No, they wanted Israel. But what do you do? What do you do at this point?
I'm sorry. I'll have to disagree with you, sir, because you have to understand. Many of those Jews, they came from pogroms from Ukraine and from Russia.
Yeah.
And then when they went to London, they were really treated bad, and they were called the problem. The problem. We need the solution. We need the solution. And this is why when Hitler came to power, he said we need the final solution.
Of course.
So you understand all of these problems happened between the Jews coming from Eastern Europe when they went to England and Western Europe. So basically, the British people didn't like them, and they want to push them out. So by the way, I mean, we can joke about that, but seriously, the whole thing about Madagascar, South Africa, Chile, and Argentina, and Uganda, these were real discussions with real budgets.
I'm very familiar with the Zionist movement. I get it.
And then at a certain time, so 1914, 7%, and then the Balfour Declaration, and then the First World War, nothing happened. Second World War with the Nazis were like maybe killing everybody.
Yeah.
And then they started to go in mass in Palestine.
But are you sensing a common theme here? They go to a country, they have success, let's kill them. They go to a country, they have success, let's kill them. They started in Egypt, they went to Spain, they went to Morocco,
No.
they went to Europe, they went to pogroms in Russia. Can I speak? Let me ask you a question.
This is not accurate.
Of course this is accurate.
Sir, this is not accurate.
What's
sir.
not accurate of what I just said? The whole reason that I say that is that they've been running around the entire world.
Sir.
It's called the Jewish diaspora. I'm speaking. I'll let you speak. You could speak for a half hour. I'm asking you a 2-minute question. There's a Jewish diaspora. They're running all over the world. It culminates in the Bolshevik Revolution. Zionism, it starts Theodor Herzl. It ends in the final solution in Germany. The Jewish people said, listen, we just need a state. You look at the map of the Middle East, it's as big as this room. We have a little tiny microphone. And then we're fighting over the size of this microphone when you have the entire room right here. So tell me, what should Israel do now? Does Israel have a right to exist and defend itself or no?
So can I answer? I'd answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, certain things that you said in that monologue was a little bit inaccurate. Yes, they were treated badly in Europe. They were treated badly everywhere else. They were not treated badly in Spain because that was under the Arab rules.
Of course they were. What do you mean? It was called the Spanish Inquisition.
Yes,
Look it up. Yes.
Sir. The Spanish Inquisitions was done by the Christians against Muslims and Jews together.
Okay.
Muslims and Jews were sitting
But
together.
it happened is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, before the Spanish Inquisition, Jews lived in the courts as ministers and as poets, as scientists under the Arab rule in Andalusia.
Yeah. Like the persecution of the Inquisition, like, fused this alliance between kind of these disparate groups. Like, they kind of banded together. They like, oh, you're being oppressed, I'm being oppressed. Let's be together here.
When the Spanish Inquisition came in, they killed both Jews and both Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, the Crusades, we all know how that story goes between Christians and Muslims for decades and centuries.
And you understand that the first crusade did not kill a single Muslim?
Okay, but the third and the fourth and the fifth one did.
What happened with the first crusade?
Enlighten me. Tell
The
me.
first crusade came out from England and they killed 2,000 Jews in Europe. They didn't even make it to Jerusalem. This is how bad the Jews were treated by the Christian Europeans. And as a matter of fact, Jews did not find refuge unless they found it in the Arab countries. I'm not saying that they were perfect, but if you compared what the Jews were enduring in Ukraine and Russia and in Western Europe and how they lived in Baghdad and Egypt and Morocco, they were much better.
But this validates the whole point of why the Jews need Israel, because every country they go to, they're going to be run out of town or killed. At the very least, they have their own country, so they could say, at least we have safety here. Every country, every story that you just mentioned, Bassem, is them being killed by somebody, whether it's the Christians, whether it's the Brits, whether it's the Ukrainians, whether it's the Russians. The whole point of Israel is like, we can no longer just rely on other people's niceties and empathy to not be murdered.
Okay.
So now we need a state of our own.
Let me.
You understand that?
I understand. Let me continue.
Yes or no?
So all through these years, they were living peacefully, relatively under.
Bassem has had to put up with this chuckle clown for like the last 2 hours, hour and a half. Like, this is crazy. I am sleepy, but I want to finish this. Like, he's just trying so hard. Like, I feel like after he does these hostile appearances like this in the Piers Morgan interview, like, I feel like he just needs to go outside and like scream to the heavens, because like that's how my heart feels right now, watching him have to deal with these absolute morons, you know?
Under the Arab rule, and then what happened, the pogroms in Russia and Ukraine pushed them to England. Then England said, we cannot take them anymore, push them more to the Arabs. At the time, Jewish people in the Arab world, especially Egypt, were living. I mean, the first people who actually did the cinema and the theater were Jewish Egyptian people who lived there all their lives. Jews, Christians, and Muslims were living. Right now, the department store, like our version of Macy's and Target, they all have Jewish names because they have part of the fabric of the Egyptian society for decades, way before the Jews from Europe came. Now, when the Jews from the Europe came, there's two ways to come. You can come easily, or you can come by force. They started to come with all of these ships, and then you have the Haganah, and you have all of the Zionist gangs who started to come into Palestine, and they were like 1.5 million Palestinians that you cannot erase. So the fact that this is the Arab world, you can go anywhere. No, because this is their country. So they went in, they replaced them, and then we had the 1948, and the rest is history. Now, having said that, do I want Israel to be erased and I want people to go back to Europe? I will never use that kind of argument unless that you tell me, well, why don't the Palestinians go to Arab countries? If you don't use that, I'm not going to use that. I believe that Israel is a matter of fact. And I think it's too late to come and erase or get people out, whatever. What we have to do, either a one-state solution that everybody, Palestinian and Israeli, have exactly the same equal right, and all of them have the same passport, and they live in peace. And the other reason is a two-state solution. Obviously, so far, Netanyahu and other Israeli officials have said many times there will never be a Palestinian state. Not in the West Bank, not in...
Yep, this is true. This is what I told you earlier, chat. This is what I said earlier. They point blank refuse a two-state solution. And they also point blank refuse a one-state solution. They want neither solution because they want the Palestinians to be dead and gone. Because if they enfranchise the Palestinians, that changes the Jewish nature of the country, the entire, like that, and that's not me saying that, that's their words, right? Because it changes who the voting blocks are in the country. People in power don't want to do that because they'll be out of power. So they don't want a one-state solution either. No, the issue is, Brianna Huffman, they don't want a one-state solution because the one-state solution would include Palestinians. The only one-state solution that Israel is interested in considering is one in which the Palestinians of the West Bank, of East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip are not included. They are not, like, in the Israeli conception of a one-state solution, those people cease to exist. Either by being forcibly removed to other countries, or by dying. You know? That's that, you know? The Wisconsin voting districts on a map are laughable. They absolutely are. The proposed Republican map literally has just like disconnected islands that are all part of one district. It's ridiculous.
In Gaza ever, and these are official statements by them. So they have already said that. You sometimes people accuse Arabs, but we do not
Good
want
night,
the
peaceful
state
warrior.
of Israel. They say we don't want a state
You have a
for
good night,
Palestine.
too.
So you have this. As long as you think that this is your land only, and those Palestinians are indispensable and they can go other
You did,
places,
Brianna.
you will never have peace.
They've had the Oslo Accords. They've had the Abraham Accords. At what point does Israel say, I can't negotiate with these people? Hamas is charting a founding charter says we call for the destruction of Israel. In order to make peace or to make a deal, you need to have someone on the other side that is willing to at least...
The Abraham Accords were not with the Palestinians. The Abraham Accords were with Saudi Arabia. What? Like the Oslo Accords were with the fatwa. The not fatwa. Is it fatwa? right? Am I just making that up? No, it's not fatwa. The PLO, the Palestinian Authority? Fatah. Sorry. I do get those two words mixed up in my brain. Fatah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for helping me get that straight, Valhalla Vidya.
Least come to the table. The closest they've come.
Yeah, the
was
Oslo Accords were with Arafat, who at the time was the leader of Fatah.
Yasser Arafat, the PLO under Clinton, 1998. He came back. They gave him 98% of what he wanted. He came back. They said no. Would Israel, or listen, Israel's just like America. It's a democracy. In a democracy, you have a free exchange of ideas. The Marjorie Taylor Greens that you mentioned are wildly different from the AOCs, but policy is different from rhetoric. The policy of the PLO, of Hamas, of Fatah is essentially destroy Israel. There's no two-state solution.
No.
The rhetoric.
Hamas is different from Fatah. Fatah is different from the authority because there's nothing in the charter of Fatah or the.
But the point that I'm getting at is all these political factions. No one wants to come to the table, do a deal. And here's what's happening.
Neither does the Israel.
Because they're getting worse and worse. They gave them 98% of what they want.
Sir, have you seen?
They had a good hand a few decades ago.
Sir,
now they have no hand. You have no leverage now. That's the problem.
Sir, have you seen the video by Netanyahu who's bragging about spoiling the Oslo Accord on his own?
I've seen the video.
Yeah, he said like I'm going to destroy it. We're going to hit them. Nobody's going to do that anymore. This is the guy. And by the way, just a little bit of thing. The Oslo Accord, it was signed by Yasser Arafat from one side and from Isaac Rabin from the other side. What happened to Isaac Rabin?
He got assassinated by a Jew.
Whom?
By a Jew.
Okay. And
by a far right radical Jew. Because he was a moderate.
Who was a part of what part? That's Jew. That's Jew. What kind of organization was he part of?
He was on the far right party.
It is the same organization where Ben Gvir, the head of the national security now, is a minister under Netanyahu.
Yeah, newsflash. Every country that's a democracy has a left wing and a right wing.
I don't think every country has at least two terrorist people as ministers. Because
bingo. Like the people who the political party who currently controls Israel and the people in office right now at the very pinnacle of Israeli power are people who supported that assassination. They literally give each other medals based on that are named after the terrorist organization that, by the way, Israel recognizes as a terrorist organization, Lahi, one of the founding terrorist organizations of the State of Israel. They massacred villages and kickstarted the initial Nakba, the disaster. Whereby 700,000 Palestinians had to flee their homes. Yeah, Itamar Ben Gvir was literally present at the wedding of hate. He was at the wedding of hate with the Israeli settlers who were taking daggers and stabbing a picture of a burned baby, a baby who'd been burned alive by Israeli settlers. And he defended that, by the way. Like, these people are straight up evil. And if you don't know about the Wedding of Hate, I've talked about it at length on this channel. I don't feel like talking about it again. But you can look it up. It is vile stuff. These are the people who defended that are currently in power in Israel.
Ben Gafir was arrested on the account of killing Ishaq Rabin. As a matter of fact, there's a very famous video for him where he got the emblem of his car 2 months before Isaac Rabin's like, we've got your car, next we got you, 2 months later, Isaac Rabin. This is the kind of government that you are defending. It is a terrorist government that kills its own people. Even Bid Zalim, who is the Minister of Finance, he was arrested because he was going there by 600 liters of gasoline to blow up an Israeli highway. This is the kind of criminals who kill people, Gaza everywhere, and I find it very difficult to find somebody actually to defend their actions.
Are you saying that Israel is the only country in the Middle East that has a thug-like regime?
Oh no, not at all. But
okay, so this is pretty common for that neighborhood.
But you know what's the difference? I don't see any other country in the regime saying I'm a democratic secular country and I have Western values.
Well, according to the World Economic Index, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. This isn't our opinion.
Exactly,
Look
it's
it
the
up.
only democracy which would have terrorist people in this government, which I find it very interesting.
Here's the problem that I'm having with you. Is that I actually
problem with me?
No, with your argument.
With me?
Well, you've already called me racist.
I'm a very nice person.
I think you are a nice person.
I'm very nice.
I think you're nice.
I never called you racist. I called your argument racist
multiple times, but it's all good.
He said undertone. He didn't call it
I said it's a racist undertone. Thank you so much. It's a racist undertone.
Thank you.
Bassem, if you look at the chat, you're probably the nicest to me today. So we're cool. So the problem that I have with you is that either you're anti-Israel or you're just intellectually lazy.
Oh my
Hear me
God,
out.
dude.
Every problem.
That's a very nice insult.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I can't imagine saying to this guy who's been knowledge dumping on you for like 2 hours that he's intellectually lazy. When what percentage of how many times has Israel been cited by the UN? 0 times, 55 times. This guy is insane, dude. Left Host is just too dumb. Man, dude.
He's insulting me very softly.
I am, because I believe in having discussion and being forthright rather than when you leave, I'll be like, fuck that guy. I actually think you're a smart guy. I actually think you know your stuff. You're just so fixated that Israel's the problem.
I'm pretty sure when he leaves, you'll still say fuck that guy.
The problem in the Middle East, like I said, follow the money. The countries that are succeeding, the Qataris, even the Saudis these days, they're coming into the modern world. They're leaving the 6th century mentality behind and say, let's get into the 21st century, where they need to succeed. In whether it's Gaza or whether it's Lebanon or whether it's Syria and whether Afghanistan, they need to focus on GDP, not GDT. Gross domestic product, not gross domestic terrorism. And the problem is they're obsessed. Put the guns down. Put the Quran down. Actually start living by the words that the Quran says, not some false equivalent of what they think is actually going on there. You talk about the genocide in Israel or in Gaza as if it's just a matter of fact. Well, let me show some stats for you, because after you see these stats, Israel's the worst genociders ever. The numbers, according to the world data, if you trust data, between 1990 and 2022, the Palestinian population overall went from 2 million to 5 million. Okay, pretty bad at genocide if that's.
This argument gives me pain. Well, how could we be doing anything bad to them if their population keeps going up? We couldn't possibly be killing thousands of them systematically if overall there are more of them. how could we be doing a genocide? We've only killed 30,000 in the last 2 months. We've only killed 30,000 people over the last 3 months. How could we be doing a genocide? How do you do this? How do you subject yourself to this every night? Because I think it's important. I think it's important to mock these people. I think it's important to point out why their ideas are bad. I think it's important to build an audience and a community of people who can recognize that these people are deserving of mockery and like that their ideas are bad, and to use that knowledge to then inform our actions domestically to make sure we ourselves aren't becoming people who would just believe bullshit like this, and also to ensure that like we can help those around us not fall into pitfalls of bullshit like this, and also to ensure that like we can maybe go forth and in a democracy, in a free and fair democracy, maybe we could make a difference and make things better for all of us. You know, that's the goal. When I talk about this stuff, sometimes, yeah, it is just for the catharsis of dunking on, conservatives who would rather see me dead than like anything else in the world. But like, most of the time it's because I want to move us collectively towards a better understanding of the world and better prescriptions for how we can make the world a better place and our communities better places, you know? That's how I do it. And also, I do it with the support of people like you. Without people like you dropping subs and donos, I would not be able to continue making content like this. And hopefully you find my commentary engaging and helpful throughout videos and segments that I do like this. I don't know that necessarily I add a ton sometimes, but like I do feel like I can come through with like relevant examples with decent counter arguments that might not be presented in videos like this. So I hope you guys get something out of it, you know? Oh yeah, Valhalla Vidya. We covered this earlier. Hassan literally platformed a Houthi pirate on his stream who went viral for being hot. So that's a thing now. Hey, Ms. Drislin. I'm sorry that your fury woke you up too much. Anyway, consider dropping subs and donos. Helps me to live, etc., etc. We've been going for 7 hours. Hit the buttons that help the stream. Appreciate you. Yeah. Oh yeah. How could he be bad? He likes One Piece and is hot. So that means the political movement he supports is good, I guess.
That's what's happening right there. In Gaza, it went from 645,000 to 2.1 million. It's 3x. That ain't genocide to me. Now, do 20,000 people, 30,000 people needlessly killed during this bullshit war that was started by Hamas? Is that horrible? 1,000,000%. And any Jew or any Israeli...
Give me that number again. 600,000 to what?
645,000 to 2.1 million.
From what to, from when to where?
This is in 1990 to 2022.
Do you know why they increased?
Because they're having babies like crazy.
No. You see, this is how like when you watch data while being uninformed makes you look very stupid.
Tell me why. Tell me how the population has gone from 2 million to 5 million.
Yeah, because most of the 1.5 extra million didn't come from Gaza. They were pushed away from other parts of Israel. So most of these people, they have increased because of refugees being kicked out.
If you're talking about the settlers, those are tens of thousands.
I'm talking about
those aren't millions of people.
Dude, listen.
He literally can't understand what Bassem is talking about. The Jim Crow-like restrictions being put on Palestinians within Israel, and on the even harsher restrictions being put on Palestinians in the West Bank. or in East Jerusalem pushes Palestinians out into the Gaza Strip because it's the only place they can wind up going. So what we're seeing here is not the natural increase from birthing. What we're seeing is refugees from other parts of Israel having to be forcibly relocated to the Gaza Strip because it's an apartheid state. I've seen other people, by the way, make arguments that Israel already is in the stages of making a one-state solution. The issue is it's basically consolidating all of the Palestinians into the Gaza Strip, or it had been, and perpetuating these kind of legal gray zones in order to justify the ongoing disenfranchisement of Palestinians, right? I don't think an apartheid state can be called a democracy. Yeah. Not a very good one, anyway.
My wife's family is not from Gaza, and yet they found themselves...
But he literally heard what Bassem said and assumed that the increase in population was from the tens of thousands of Israeli settlers, which is not the case.
In Gaza because they were sitting in other cities and villages outside Gaza. This is the systemic pushing of people from other parts of Israel, pushing them
That's
to
not
Gaza.
millions of people. This is why I said that you're intellectually dishonest.
No,
or intellectually lazy.
No.
That's not the cause of millions of people being moved. I'm familiar with the settler stuff and the disengagement in 2006.
You don't know what you're talking about. These are people that
millions
were
of people?
What?
Okay.
The people who belong to Gaza are 700,000 people. Right now, Gaza is 2.2 million. That is not birth rate, my friend. These are people pushed from... And by the way, that's not the first time. 1948, at the night of the declaration of the State of Israel, 1.5 million Palestinians were moved overnight. So it's not the first thing. So before you giving me numbers you want to appear smart, know what are behind the numbers, because these are not people giving babies.
Okay.
These are people being pushed from other places in order to be part of the open air prison that it is.
Okay, so then,
it's not delivered.
If you want to fact check me, let me fact check you. Anytime that there's numbers increasing, Bassem, going from 650, 450, whatever.
Oh my goodness, Mr. Anderson, thank you for the $50 super chat. My goodness, for what you do and the way you break things down, and because you're still on now that I'm home after I worked 10 hours. Well, Mr. Anderson, thank you very, very much for the $50 dono. I very much appreciate it. That might actually be the largest super chat I've ever received on YouTube, so thank you so much. That is incredibly generous of you, and you just pushed things up here. We are now at 32 subs. Very closing in on potential analog horror this stream. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This show brought to you by people like you. Thank you.
Whatever you want to call it, to 2 million, however it happens, that's the exact opposite of a genocide. So the whole genocide, the whole...
He literally doesn't understand the concept that overall there might be less Palestinians, but they've been moved and displaced to concentrate in different areas. Like, he doesn't understand the concept. He can't fathom it. Yeah, when Bassem is talking about people being pushed out of the West Bank and East Jerusalem, they're going to the Gaza Strip, generally speaking. This guy is full on, like, wild, dude. They only understand this graph, Shadamar. You know, the capitalist brain rot really gets you.
open-air
It's
prison
displacement,
are
my
talking
friend.
points.
Displacement.
Are talking points of BS.
No,
and this is why I said you're either intellectually lazy or you just hate Israel.
Basically, this whole thing about you hate Israel and hate Islam, this is a very lazy way to talk to people.
It's kind of like your thing.
What did I tell you that is so lazy? What did I tell you, like you're fucking racist?
You've already said that multiple times.
No, I didn't say.
Yeah, you
I
said that multiple times.
I said your undertone is racist. No, that's not one.
So not me, but what's going on inside of me.
And some like the way that you analyze numbers is very lazy because again,
really, when I actually use stats and data from
Let me hear
the
what
most
he's gonna
credible
say.
sources, that's lazy.
These are numbers that were outside
You've
of Gaza.
said no stats. You give a fucking opinion
It's like
the whole
saying
time.
that California has increased triple, or this has people in Texas increased because of birth rate. No, they increased because people from California started moving voluntarily. You have pushed 1.5 million people outside of Gaza, inside of Gaza in a matter of 12 years, and that's why the number has inflated. It's not because they were giving birth rate.
By the way, just to talk about this a little bit more in depth, so here is the UNFPA talking about, hey, what understanding the population of Gaza, like what's going on here? Here's the situation, and this is a bit old, but I think a lot of it still holds true for the general principles, right? The projected number of Palestinians living in the state of Palestine at the end of 2015 is 4.75 million. And around 2.9 million reside in the West Bank and 1.85 million reside in the Gaza Strip. Palestinian refugees make up 42.8% of the Palestinian population in Palestine, 27.1% of them in the West Bank, and 67.3% in the Gaza Strip. With this information alone, remember now that this is this is end of 2015 numbers, right? 67% of the people in the Gaza Strip at the end of 2015 were already refugees, displaced from either inside Israel proper or different areas of the West Bank or East Jerusalem. So like this is exactly what Bassem is talking about. This is the principle that we're talking about. The number of displaced refugees has only gone up since 2015. We're like 9 years on now from that.
So then, where's the genocide?
They were evacuated.
Where's this alleged genocide
That's happening right now under your eyes.
So as of 3 months ago, there was no genocide. So it's just a new.
Well,
thing.
we didn't actually use the word genocide before 3 months ago.
Okay, but you've been calling for the river for the sea.
We didn't use it
for decades.
So, well, also Israel have a lot of maps that is putting in the greater Israel from the Nile and the Euphrates. That's genocide for 5 countries there. And this is not by people in the street or people on YouTube. These are ministers. These are officials in the official.
Again, what he's talking about here. I need to find a better high-res map here. Here is. I think this should do. No, it's not. It's not big enough. I want a bigger map. I'm a bit of a size queen when it comes to maps, chat. I'm sorry. Here, maybe this yeah, this will do. This will do. All right. So when he's talking about Greater Israel, this is kind of the rough borders of like the original kingdom of Israel, right? This is like this is what the settler colonial movement within Israel wants to retake. They want to rebuild the kingdom of Israel to its borders from its height. This is effectively, like, ideally what Israel wants to become in the future, right? This is why they push for Israel to invade Lebanon. It's one of the underlying justifications for invading neighboring countries like Lebanon. And like, well, it also doesn't matter if Israel was never this big for real life. It doesn't matter to them, because it's what matters is the underlying like mythos of the state. The same way, like, God didn't really tell Americans that they could have sea to shining sea. They just kind of like created the concept of manifest destiny to justify what they were already doing. In the same way, like, they're creating a mythology and a mythos for themselves to justify their settler colonial activities and to justify turning the violence of the state outward even more so than it is already. So,
government of Netanyahu. If you have someone, an Arab president, like the Egyptian president or the Jordanian king, tell you from the river and the sea, it's like, oh, it's the Arab authorities. You are basically complaining people on Facebook and the official viewpoint of the Israeli government. You're basically comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't make any sense. You're basically comparing activists with people with power, with money, and with weapons. So I don't know how come you're comparing
So
them.
what's your solution? Because you got all these answers and we have no solutions. What's your solution?
Justice. Stop killing people and give them back their land. That's it.
Okay.
And giving them back the land, it's going to be a much more complicated thing.
Who's going to lead your negotiations? Mahmoud Abbas, 88 years old?
I have no idea, man.
No,
I have no idea.
That's the point, is you don't have an idea.
Well, when I say I have no idea, I'm being humble, because there's a million people who can do it, but like, I'm not a politician, I'm a comedian. I come here to tell some of my opinions, but the thing is, you want to put me, and you use that, and you give me, I'm sorry to say, butchered political information and numbers that doesn't say anything.
Stats are really butchered and political.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how you have all the solutions for Israel, but you have no solutions for Gaza or Hamas. Very interesting. Very interesting how you can critique everything that's going on in Israel. Yes, they do have some things they need to rectify. Just like
you didn't ask him for solutions to Hamas. If you asked him the question here, he'd have an answer for you, and I know that because he had an answer for it on Piers Morgan, and the answer is you take away the underlying reason for Hamas to exist. You enter into negotiations with Hamas. You give them statehood. You give possibly give them statehood, or find a way to be able to coexist in a one-state solution. But like this situation where they continue to exist in a legal gray area or an internationally recognized gray area is unsustainable. And you know what? The military higher-ups in Israel know that it's unsustainable as well. We've gone over stories on this show talking about how military leadership in the IDF itself recognizes that the treatment of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank is unsustainable, because their policies that they're being directed to pursue by politicians in Likud literally create an eternal problem. They know that by pursuing the policies of Likud, they continue to essentially deliver Palestinians into the arms of Hamas. Every time the IDF bombs the Gaza Strip, support for Hamas goes up. Every time a sniper kills a peaceful protester in the Gaza Strip, support for Hamas goes up. More people join Hamas. It is a mutually, they understand in the IDF at least, or at least they did in the past, that this relationship that they have with Hamas is going both ways. It serves both the members of Likud and it also serves Hamas. The issue is you have to enter into negotiations with Hamas. You have to be able to negotiate some sort of understanding. But Israel won't do that because they believe that they can just simply kill every Palestinian until some country will take the handful of leftovers. We talked. Exactly. Britain did it when it came to the IRA. They entered into negotiations and were able to successfully navigate an incredibly difficult time. but you have to be able to be willing to even negotiate. And the part of the problem is, and this is the hardest pill to swallow, okay? Part of the problem here is that the genocide that Israel's currently pursuing serves the interests of Israel better than pursuing a peace plan. That's the issue, right? The issue that we're facing is that Israel looks at the prospect of negotiating a peace and rejects it out of hand, you know? And part of that is because the ongoing violence serves the political leadership of Likud at this very moment. It serves Netanyahu. The longer the violence goes on, the longer he can cling to power and the more he can solidify his base so he doesn't go to prison, right? Like, Netanyahu is going to hold on to power by extending this conflict for as long as he possibly can, extending his war powers as long as he possibly can. Right? So this isn't something that's going to be going away because it serves the powers that be in Israel right now. And they don't want to solve the problem, because solving the problem here by like getting a two-state solution is seen as completely unacceptable to the vast majority of the Israeli public, especially after October 7th. And pursuing a one-state solution means enfranchising Palestinians to a degree that would completely upset the balance of power in the country and defeat the purpose of, at least in the eyes of Likud, negotiating a peace. So, like, there's literally zero incentive for the people in power in Israel right now to stop what they're doing. There's not enough pushback. There was barely enough pushback to possibly forestall the ascension of Netanyahu as a dictator. There was barely enough pushback for that. There's definitely no pushback, or very, very little, to stop the genocide of Palestinians. You preferably promote other less extreme parties for Palestinian leadership afterwards, and they just become irrelevant. Yeah, exactly, because there are other Palestinian political parties currently active. You know, was it the? What is this? Yeah. For example, we saw an interview a while ago with the leader of the Palestinian National Initiative, which is a group dedicated to nonviolent political change in the Gaza Strip, who literally had to do their nonviolent activism alongside or even against Hamas. Like, these organizations exist. The issue is they are not empowered the way that Hamas is, because Hamas is empowered systematically by the government of Israel. So, the problem here is being dictated by the occupying power, which is not surprising, because that's, in every case that I know of, exactly how these things go. The occupiers are the ones who dictate the terms. And the key here is to both become not the occupier and also negotiate the terms instead of dictating them. And what that looks like can obviously be very, very different from case to case, but that is the secret for finding peace in this area. And Israel is just not interested in that.
United States, just like any democracy. You've got all the answers there, Bassem. When I said, what do they do over here in Gaza? What do they do? I have no idea. I'm just a comedian. Don't listen to me. So which one is it? You either know your shit or you're actually just...
So what was your question? What's the solution
So
for
what-
this?
Well, one is the fact that he knows about the history of the region, and the other is making prescriptive statements about what should be done going forward. He hasn't made a whole lot of prescriptive statements throughout this. He's merely been correcting you because you're making arguments without knowing any of the actual facts, and being completely insufferable about it too.
It's a
I
solution
said the Israel
for
take back the
Gaza.
land. For Gaza, how
Yeah.
about you stop the killing and then we can
Okay,
talk?
so let's say we do that.
Okay.
So here's what I believe. I think we need to demilitarize Gaza. We need to de-radicalize because they're the leading.
How are you going to deregulate? How do you do
Well,
that?
maybe let's stop.
So how about
let's stop summer schools where they teach about jihad and they start playing football
okay,
and
how,
soccer.
how about the religious schools in Israel that actually tell people that we should kill all Arabs? And these
Well,
videos are
you know all those
idea.
Jews that are running around bombing everywhere around the
Yeah.
world? No, it doesn't fucking exist.
Oh,
it's
really?
only in Islam.
Oh, really? But
This is insane, considering that we're talking about a situation in which Israel has literally bombed 30,000 people and destroyed like 85% of like infrastructure and like residential areas in like an area that used to house 2.4 million people. Like we're literally talking about a conflict in which like 10,000 people a month have been dying. And the majority of them are like children and the elderly. Like, first of all, that was incredibly like racist and Islamophobic. But second of all, like, we're literally talking about an example of Israel doing that right now.
thought about the Jews killing the Palestinians inside.
I'm talking about around the world. If I said there was
we're bad people. We're bad people.
No,
Take us out.
that's not what I'm saying.
No, we're very hot.
Okay, what I'm saying is they need to-
terrorist religion. We are a terrorist religion. Take it out.
You said it. Your
Let's
words.
do it.
You
Yeah,
said it.
let's
Your
do
words.
It. Yeah.
Your words.
Let's do it. I mean, like
Your
this
words.
This is like you
Keep saying it.
you have a really interesting outlook for people who look like me. You look at me and I'm Muslim, and you have all of these assumptions about me being a terrorist, while Islam
Not
is
at
not
all.
a terrorist.
You
know
said
what's-
the
you know
words,
what's the
Bassem.
difference
I didn't say those
You know
words.
what's the difference between
You said
Islam
the
and
words.
terrorists? They go on like some rogue groups and they kill and they do shitty
You know, like he's like trying to pretend like that wasn't exactly his argument, and he's like, "You're saying it, you're saying it." Now he's like being like, "Oh wait, this is actually making me look really bad." He's actually making me look like I do want to kill all Muslims right now. Which, to be fair, he kind of does seem like he wants that.
stuff. But you have like a whole country with a whole military arsenal who is committing terrorism every single day, backed up
There
by
it
the
is.
US.
There's your Israel talking.
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Israel
I'm gonna
talking
talk
point.
it. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Totally
That's
cool.
my opinion.
Totally cool.
Yeah.
It's all good. But you're trying to tell me that Islam doesn't have a terrorist problem?
Muslims have a terrorist problem.
Correct.
It's like when you say Islam has a Muslim problem, when you say Judaism has a Muslim problem. All right? A lot of Muslims are assholes and they're doing horrible stuff. And I do not feel the need to defend those people because those people don't represent me. The thing is,
If
people
Jews were
but the
running
thing-
around all over the world blowing themselves up as suicide bombers, as a Jew, I'd be like, guys, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Okay.
This is accomplishing nothing.
So let's
but
keep
here's
the-
the
so let's keep
but
the
here's the
people in
reality.
Gaza. Let's keep
Jews
the
aren't
people in
doing
Gaza.
that, and Christians
Jews are
aren't
not.
doing that.
Jews are not.
Let me ask you a
They're
question.
not doing that in Gaza. They're not doing that in the West Bank.
Everything you talk about is Gaza. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
because
the
that's
world.
what's happening
You're
right now.
so obsessed with this one topic.
I am.
I'm trying
because
to understand
my family
the world.
lives there.
Okay.
Because my family lives there.
But my family's in Israel.
Really?
So only your family counts. My family doesn't count.
No. Okay, but like, did your family live in an open air prison and being killed every day?
The open air
Like-
prison, the genocide.
Oh,
Get
open-
them.
you see how you
get
make
them
fun?
new talking
You see
points.
how
open air
it's the
prison.
only talking point.
Israel left
It's the
Gaza
only
in
talk-
2006.
It didn't leave. It
Okay.
left and it put it under blockade.
It's called a disengagement.
No, there's
why
no-
do they have a blockade? Maybe because they're shooting missiles hundreds of times a day. Yeah, I'd pretty much put a
Yeah.
country in a blockade if they were shooting missiles
you cut them
every
from
single
the air,
day.
cut them from the sea, cut them from the water. It's like, okay, go live. How do you do that?
Let's move on from Israel because I know you're hyper obsessed with it. Why?
I'm not hyper obsessed. You keep asking me about Israel.
No, I ask you about the world, and I'm asking you about Christianity and Muslims and Judaism. You
Yeah, except that you keep bringing it back around to this topic, dude. Like, come on. No, I'm asking you about the world. You've had like a 2-hour-long conversation, most of which is about Israel.
want to focus on Israel. Why can Muslims move to any Christian country they want? but Christians and Jews can move to 0 Muslim countries. Why is that?
What about Dubai? What about
I'll ask
Saudi
it again.
Arabia? What about all of these countries? What are you talking about?
You mean the
You're
country-
just mentioning Qatar and Dubai and all of there's like a lot of expats living there.
So the middle. This is my point, and I'm glad you're catching on.
Yeah.
That I'm not racist. I'm pointing.
Amir Al-Paslan, I understand. I very, very much understand. There is only 7 minutes left, but it is becoming increasingly mask off here.
Out.
Well, there are Christian countries who like shit. I wouldn't lose that because of the economy.
I'm pointing out that in certain Muslim countries, they're getting it right, or at least attempting to.
Good for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, good for them. Good for Qatar. Good for UAE.
To be clear, this isn't the guy talking is not Patrick Bet-David. This is one of Patrick Bet-David's co-hosts, who I think this guy also does like red pill content. Like he has like a spin-off podcast where he like does red pill stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know. You really want to take dating advice from this guy.
For Saudi and what MBS is doing. Good for them. They're examples of what could be done. Good for Saudi Arabia and what MBS has done. Oh, you mean the guy who's known for assassinating and chopping up journalists? Good for that guy? Are you kidding me? This is insane, dude. Gaza, if they took the billions of government of international aid, could be Dubai, but they decided to make a terror state. So the question that I'm asking is,
are you saying that like, there's so many money coming in and just like Hamas used it in order to make weapons?
There's people of Hamas who are literal billionaires living in Qatar, flying around on private jets. How do you explain that?
They're horrible people, and I don't condone them. All right,
okay.
I'm talking about the millions of people in Gaza.
But horrible people, Hamas. Let's not talk about that. We'll move on. But Israel. Let me give you a dissertation over here.
Like,
I'm trying to give you
you're
some.
just like shouting over me.
I'm
just
not.
To make
Because every time I'm talking,
you are basically going
talk.
around all of the stuff that's happening with Muslim people that is bad, and then basically what you're doing is you are undertoning. You are trying to find an excuse to keep that killing in Gaza continue because Muslims are bad, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims are poor. So let's just like kill those people in Gaza.
You are
this is exactly
so
what you're doing.
intellectually lazy. It's comical because I'm not even talking about Gaza.
You keep insulting me.
We're
keep
gonna
insulting
wrap
me
up.
Because I'm trying.
Like you are a motherfucking racist. You know, like how would?
What
you
have
feel
I
if
said that's
that?
racist? I'm saying that
Everything that you say about racism, the way that you speak about Muslims, that we are terrorists and we are horrible people. Basically, you're telling people that we deserve to die.
Bassem,
And Israel
Youssef.
has everything to do in order to kill those people. Anyways, if
I've said zero of those words.
Hopefully, if
you are putting all those words in my mouth, I said zero of those
cousin
words.
who's a doctor.
I said zero of those words. I merely made all of the arguments that bring you right up to the inevitable conclusion of those words if you take them at face value. I made the argument to support all of those statements, but how dare you attribute those statements to me?
Get killed tomorrow, I'm going to send you a postcard.
So if my actual cousin gets killed in Israel, that's okay.
They will not, because you know what? They are safe because he's not living in an open air prison.
Why are they safe? Maybe because they have the Israeli Defense Force, the Iron Dome. That's
Maybe they're safe because because they're the ones currently killing 10,000 Palestinians a month. Because they're the occupying power here. Like I'm sorry, look up the average day in the life of like a Palestinian in January of 2024, and then look up like the average day in the life of your average Israeli in January 2024. It looks very different. I think it's pretty obvious which side feels more secure and which side feels less secure in this conflict. If you just wanted to use his own example here.
for you.
stops
Good for you.
all the missiles.
They don't have that.
Yeah, but
they don't have that.
Maybe you should have built that instead of tunnels.
With what?
With all the billions of foreign aid that was given.
What billion foreign aid are you? These,
how much money does Iran give? How much money does Qatar give? How much does the international community?
Actually trickled through Israel. You understand that Israel is actually holding
your
that tax
argument
money
holds no weight because all you're doing is defending Hamas.
Again, Netanyahu is the one who allows those funds through to Hamas.
Argument.
I'm the last one to defend Hamas, by the way, and I've actually said the terrorist group, and I'm a big fan of Hamas. But I'm just giving you some facts. Every single money that goes into Gaza goes through Israel. As a matter of fact, Biden has a big problem with Netanyahu because he's withholding the tax money that paid by the Palestinian people to the Palestinian Authority, and Netanyahu is holding it back. Have you heard about that? Have you read about that? Just 2 days ago, if you're reading your stuff, but you don't. But the thing is, Netanyahu is holding back the tax money from the Palestinian in West Bank, and he's not giving it to
You're so funny, man. You're so funny.
No, you're just
saying
so ignorant.
You're saying
You're
all
ignorant.
the money that's going to Hamas is coming through Israel? Sure.
Filtered through Israel.
Sure. All the money.
Filtered through Israel.
Yes. They literally have a stranglehold on the entire Gaza Strip. They control the money going into it. They control the money going out of it. They control the water. They control the electricity. They control the internet. They literally control every aspect of what is happening. This is one of the things, right? Like, one of the arguments that this douche nozzle is making here is that, oh, well, you could have the Palestinians could have put all their funding into their own Iron Dome system. Except that the issue is any infrastructure projects built within the Gaza Strip need to be approved by Israel, right? So, like, the reason they don't have more water purification plants or better power generating power plants is because Israel doesn't allow them to build those things. That's literally a right that they've had taken away from them. They can't build their own water treatment centers. They can't build their own power plants. And how would you hazard a guess at how many times the IDF has allowed them to build these things? Big fat old zero. They even limit the fucking concrete that goes in. So, like, they can't build anything. It's not like they have forests where they can just, like, shrug their shoulders and be like, okay, time to chop down some trees and, like, build our own infrastructure. They aren't able to do that. When the IDF comes in, they bring bulldozers to knock over homes. And what you need to understand about that is that is a colossal blow, because the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip don't have the means to rebuild their homes because of the limits on concrete, because of the limits on the building materials that you can bring into the Gaza Strip or buy in the Gaza Strip. God. And, like, when the Israelis come in, they come with the bulldozers, and they come with concrete mixers, and they pour the concrete into the wells. The potable water is constantly being limited, ever more so, by the Israeli government and the Israeli settlers and the IDF. The fact that he's making this argument is this argument is born out of ignorance.
All the money from Iran going right through Israel, sure, that's likely. All the money from Qatar.
Yeah, literally the money from Qatar is controlled by the state of Israel. Israel controls whether or not the money from Qatar gets from Qatar, or Qatar, I always forget how the pronunciation, controls whether or not that money goes from Qatar into the Gaza Strip for Hamas. They control that.
In 2019, the Likud party telling
how can they do that? Because they occupy the Gaza Strip. Like they have occupied it the entire time. They occupy East Jerusalem. They occupy the West Bank. They're the occupying force. They control like the institutions and like whether or not like messages get in or out of Palestine, of the Gaza Strip. You know, they view Palestinians as a pest to be like periodically flushed out. You know, that they have the term cut the grass. That's their term for, you know, when they need to go into like the Gaza Strip and you know, drop some bombs and kill some Palestinians. They call that cutting the grass or mowing the lawn. They do not allow it to have the sovereignty to be able to accept the money or to be able to build their own infrastructure. Like they aren't allowed the ability to self-determine, you know?
Them that he is actually overlooking that amount of money coming from Qatar, and he is doing that in order to split the Palestinian Authority. Listen to
I'm
him.
familiar with this. I'm not disagreeing
how
with.
about you? How about you? Listen, educate yourself about that.
It's so interesting to me that he's like, oh, you think Israel could control the money from Qatar that's going into the Gaza Strip, and then like Bassem Youssef is like, yes, that they do that. And then he's like, well, I'm familiar with that. Then why did you try and make this point? If you're familiar with it, why are you trying to make this point? Dipshit. Like, I mean, this isn't even like difficult to find information, right? Here's from New York Times just last month. Buying quiet inside the Israeli plan that propped up Hamas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gambled that a strong Hamas, but not too strong, would keep the peace and reduce pressure for a Palestinian state. How do you spell the guest's name? There you go. Like, this is well known, chat. Literally, Benjamin Netanyahu and the rest of Likud were complicit in empowering Hamas. Like, if the people who complain about Hamas, like, oh, why haven't the Palestinians overthrown Hamas? Why haven't they embraced nonviolent resistance? Well, one, because the nonviolent resistance leaders get assassinated, and two, because Hamas is directly propped up by the policies and decision making of the Israeli government. That'll probably be a fortress issue, Brianna. I'm sorry.
That.
I'm not disagreeing that Netanyahu has done some fucked up things.
Here it is.
Okay.
Here it is. Oh my God. Here it is.
Biden is in frustrating call told Bibi to solve Palestinian tax revenue issue.
Because Israel is withholding the taxes. You understand every single money
That's
transaction.
your argument right there?
That's part of the argument. Every single money transaction, whether it's taxes, whether aids, it has to go through the Israeli
So
government.
all the money that Iran is funding Hamas, you're saying that goes through Israel? Is that what you're saying?
Through Qatar, through Israel.
Okay. That's so false. It's so flagrantly false.
I want
It's
you to
not.
educate yourself more.
Okay, I will. I'll go read up on this. But if you mean to tell me that Israel is intercepting the money that Iran is sending to Hamas and says, yeah, we'll send it to you guys, believe me, they're not doing
By the
that.
way, it's
Read the
11:15.
transcript
It's 11:15. We're going to wrap up. Here's what I will say. I'm going to be very honest with both of you guys. I mean, I've been listening to both of you guys, and I love this. I love this.
That's because you're a dipshit, PBD. You're a dipshit. You literally don't comprehend that your co-host is like justifying a genocide. Or if you do, you're also a complicit monster. But like, literally, you can look up Benjamin Netanyahu, Qatar, like money, and like you find like an article like this instantaneously, dude. For years, the Qatari government has been sending millions of dollars a month into the Gaza Strip, money that helped prop up the Hamas government there. Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel not only tolerated those payments, he had encouraged them. That's crazy, dog.
Let me tell you why. The average American right now is sitting there. There's a group that agrees with you. There's a group that agrees with you. Regardless of what it is, a lot was said, and it was actually pretty educated discussion. For me, I'm normally not this quiet. I love the fact that I heard this.
It was actually a pretty educated discussion. What was it, though? Like, what one side was educated on this one?
This conversation. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you for having. It was very obvious. This is what happens, Bassem, in the future when you're doing podcasts. Follow the same rule. The 8 hours of sleep you got last night was very helpful. It was obviously felt.
I was hang out over. I mean, I'm there's pain in my back as I'm speaking out of pain.
I got a guy waiting for you right now. Just so
Can I say one thing to Bassem?
Yeah.
I don't care how much we argue, and that's fine. I would have a beer with you. I would party with you. I'll go see your comedy show.
Back?
You literally argued that like people who look like him are violent terrorists inherently. People who look like him and are the same religion as him, you literally argued that like they're all prone to terrorism. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Whatever this
Would you
guy
massage
needs,
my back?
I'll give you a hand. I'll give you a handy under the table if I make you feel better. It's all good.
Dude.
Also, these people keep making a lot of allusions to like being gay, and it's gotten to the point where I'm like kind of unsure about how much of it is a joke. Like, remember we watched Charlie Kirk on the Patrick Bet-David show, and they were all like soy jacking over the Senate sex tape. Like, at this point, I'm genuinely unsure about like how much of this joking is actually like haha versus haha, totally joking, guys, haha.
I love this conversation.
Listen,
this is the
this
only
could be-
way
this
that
is-
situations can be solved.
It is.
It can be uncomfortable. It can be argumentative. But I'd rather sit down at the table with people I disagree with than completely ignore them.
At the end of the day, the heated discussions, all of this at the end of the day is words.
Yep.
Words don't hurt anybody. And the thing is, if it hurts you, it means that you need to check your ego. One thing I learned is that put your ego aside. So if you felt that I am attacking you, it's not. It's like I'm always attacking your argument.
Brother, I'll give you a hug on air, off air.
Dude, Bassem Youssef has the literal patience of a saint. Like, my God, dude.
I'm good.
It's never about you because there is absolutely no point of like losing each other and losing each other. Like, we have come from obviously different background, but I would rather have this heated discussion and then stand up. And because at the end of the day, we are all Americans. We're sitting here, and hopefully we're doing that in order to learn something that will not happen.
We totally agree. We're on the same page.
We're on the
Again,
100% on the
Appreciate you
same
for being a
page.
good
Thank
sport.
you.
Appreciate you for coming out. Gang, take care. Have a great weekend. If you're in Florida, if you're in South Florida tonight, you're performing, and tomorrow at...
Yeah, with that back. I have 2 shows in Arabic tonight and 3 shows in English Saturday and Sunday.
And what's the
Jesus.
location?
Miami Improv.
Miami Improv.
Okay, not gonna lie, this dude is also just jacked as hell, right? Like, he's really hot. He's really hot, chat. Just every so often, I'm just like, oh my God. I was remarking in my head that he was kind of yoked while watching the podcast, but like, goddamn, that picture, dude. Whew.
Bro,
I mean,
go stop by and tell him you heard him on PBD podcast.
Maybe I'll be there. You never know.
Come,
Take a
Bye-bye.
picture.
come to the English show, Allah. You'll enjoy it.
Take care, everybody. Bye
His
bye.
eyes
Bye
are
bye.
really pretty.
I have one Jewish.
Did he just end by saying I have one Jewish friend? Oh god. The fact that he can like effortlessly recover after that was wild, dude. My goodness. Bassem Youssef has so much more patience than I would have, which is part of why it's part of why I'm hesitant to like do higher profile debates at this point. Like, I don't know if I have the patience for them. You know, I feel like I'd get too spicy too quick. You know, like when it comes to like debate content, you gotta have a slow burn to spice. You know, you gotta have a lot of patience with folks, and I feel like I might lose it pretty quickly. But maybe I just need to give it a few more shots. You know, do some call-in streams. You know who else was hot? The Houthi pirate. Oh, we've come full circle. It's true. Maybe the only reason I listen to and believe Bassem Youssef is because he's too hot.